You know, I hate to say, I told you so, but I missed this story when it came out on the 5th. We're going to go over it tonight. I talked about it earlier today. Owen Shroyer is being targeted by the DOJ. They want 120 days in prison. Why? Speech. Owen Shroyer, a pundit, personality, and journalist for InfoWars, said some things. And for the things he said, the DOJ says he should go to prison for it. And this is what I said was going to happen. I said, now they're going after, they go after Trump, they go after his lawyers. The next people in line are going to be the pundits who were advocating for or encouraging people on January 6th. First person in line, Owen Shroyer. Now, a few important details. He did not go into the Capitol. The InfoWars team had a permit to have a rally outside the Capitol in a different area. Owen Shroyer was on Capitol grounds. This is the initial pretext they get to charge him. He pleads guilty. They then say in the sentencing document, the prosecutor says, because of his speech before, during, and after the event, he should get this amount of time in prison. It's not a one-for-one to what I was exactly describing, but it's basically the opening the door, the midway point. A guy said some things about January 6th, encouraged people. He challenged the established order, and for that, he should go to prison. We're going to talk about that. We do have a lot of good news, though. And the reason why they're getting so heavy-handed, CNN's got a poll out. Trump's winning. If the election were held today, Trump wins. Yeah. It's within the margin of error, but he's beating Biden. And CNN says never in the 2020 cycle did they have polls that showed this level of this high probability for Donald Trump. You also have at a Yankees game, a banner was unfurled that said Trump or death. So I certainly hope not. But it's getting crazy out there. Before we get started, my friends, head over to timcast.com, click Timcast IRL Miami, and pick up your tickets today to come hang out with us live in Miami at our live show, October 6th, 6 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. We got a bunch of free stuff for you when you show up. We got Public Square is sponsoring it. And we're going to have Patrick Bet-David, Donald Trump Jr., Matt Gaetz, and of course, me, Tim Pool, Luke Rutkowski, and Crossan. We'll all be there. We hope to see you there. We got a pre-show. We've got an after-show Q&A for all of you who hang out and stick around in the audience to talk to all of us, ask us questions. It's going to be really exciting. Don't forget to also go to timcast.com, click Join Us, become a member. We're going to have a members-only uncensored show coming up for you tonight at 10 p.m. where you as members can actually submit questions and call into the show to talk to us and ask us questions directly. You got to be a member for at least 6 months or sign up today at the $25 per month level, granting you instant access. It kind of sucks, but this is like our gatekeeping method to make sure creepy weirdo stalkers and, people who are trying to harass us don't come in and waste our time. But again, timcast.com, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Martha Bueno.
Hello. Good evening.
Yeah. Who are you? What do you do?
So thank you so much for having me. I'm Martha Bueno. I am a liberty activist, and I am the first person in the United States to have used OnlyFans as a method to campaign. I am also a entrepreneur.
In what way, though, is the question? How
did I use OnlyFans?
Yeah.
I put political content on OnlyFans. It was very G-rated, however.
Right, because immediately people are like, what are you saying? Are you saying you did adult?
The spice level was about green pepper level.
Oh, green pepper.
It was spicy.
Right on. So what are you doing now?
Currently, I just launched R Good. It is a new way to consume Delta-8, or in other cannabinoids. And you can check us out at rgood.com.
Right on. Thanks for hanging out. We got Phil Labonte.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I am the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains, and I am an anti-communist and counter-revolutionary.
Missed you last week. We had a great episode with
Thank you.
Jackson Hinkle. We'll see you again soon.
Hey,
I just read recently that people want to polish the Statue of Liberty. All that green, it's green because it's basically oxidized copper, and if you polish it down, it's going to be like a bronze, copper, shiny. Would you guys suggest putting tax money into that? Would that be a good public works project?
I actually don't hate the idea, and I think that New Jersey and New York should actually compete for who's going to actually clean it up, because Jersey's always saying, oh, Ellis Island, or Liberty Island's in New Jersey, it's not New York, blah blah blah. So let them fight about it, and then whoever cleans it gets to have it for a year.
T-Mobile,
the next
T-Mobile
year
wins the bid, and it's the T-Mobile Statue of Liberty.
I hope that doesn't happen
for the remainder of the contract.
That I really hope that doesn't happen.
I think it's fine that it's green. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, it looked cool. The picture that they showed of it was like, wow, it could be shining in sunlight. That'd be cool.
The tweet that he was talking, or the tweet when they were talking about it, he was talking about like doing it as an idea of like rejuvenating America and bringing American spirit back, and et cetera. And there are times where those kind of policies or those kind of things can inspire people. I don't know if it's a great idea. I don't know if it's going to do a whole lot, but I don't think it's it's not a horrible idea. It's kind of neat.
Let me know in the chat. We also have Carter Banks in tonight.
What's up, guys? Filling in for Kellen. He's filling in for Serge. I think we should keep it green for now, just for old time's sake. But
for old time's sake, technically, old time's sake would be to polish it.
Yeah.
Well,
I'd
then
say
never
polish
mind. Polish it. I like green. I don't know.
All right. Well, let's jump into this first story. It's from none other than everyone's favorite, Media Matters for America. Ah, yes.
Trash cans.
I actually really like this article. It says Alex Jones claims InfoWars host Owen Shroyer was charged for free speech. That's it. They don't insult Alex Jones. They don't write anything. They literally just post a quote and a video of Alex Jones, which I will play a bit for you here right now. I think.
Now, this deals with Owen and this deals with the rest of the January 6 people, where their lawyers are like, we don't want you to antagonize the system. We don't want you to sit there and do a bunch of stuff. Let us try to not get them in prison. I'm like, well, I want to defend them. I want to talk about it. Well, it's up to them if they want help or not. And Owen's a smart cookie, but they're trying to put Owen in jail, in prison. They filed last night. He's sentenced next week. Goes to D.C. And I didn't cover it, but the Gateway Pundit did. Breaking: D.C. prosecutors seek 120 days in prison for Owen Shroyer for speaking out against stolen election 2020. Speech now a crime. Now that's not just the Gateway Pundit's headline. I have, overhead shot please, right here, the charging document the feds put forward. Here it is.
We actually have that as well. And so in the charging document, I'm not going to read through the whole thing. They basically say, before January 6th, on January 6th, and after January 6th, Owen Shroyer had said things that incited people. And for that, they are seeking this sentence. The criminal charge against him is not for speech. It's for being on the Capitol grounds. But they're arguing that he is the reason people stormed the Capitol. They highlight this. Be a part of history. Fight for Trump. And it shows people outside the Capitol, Alex Jones and Owen with bullhorns. And if you scroll down, I'll jump down to right before they get to their recommendations. They go on to mention, let's see, I want to try and find the specific portion. May. They go on to mention after the fact, August. So this is for his speech that they are seeking to put him in jail. When I said that the next people they'd come for would be pundits, I didn't mean like outright it would be Owen Shroyer or anything like that. There are people who are not in the Capitol, who are not on the Capitol grounds, who I am referring to. And there are people who are not even in D.C. who I am referring to. I even said like prominent cable personalities who were in communications with Trump legal's team who pushed the narrative. Prominent personalities, many of whom got sued. They're going to come after them next. But Owen Shroyer is in between. He not only was there on the ground, he didn't go in the building, but he was also someone that they're seeking a prison sentence for over speech he made after the fact.
I blame Obama.
Yeah, why is that?
Because the precedent for going after journalists was set with Snowden and with Assange. And then the Obama administration went after James Rosen. So the idea that this is the first time, no, this is something that's been in motion for a long time. And there's a lot of people around this table and other pundits and stuff that have been vocal about how it's a bad thing that, Snowden hasn't been pardoned and Assange hasn't been pardoned, and it's a bad thing that Rosen went to jail, and the Democrats didn't.
Rosen actually went to jail,
or no, I'm sorry, that they
went after him. We've had him on the show, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I was here, and he was talking about they wiretapped him and blah blah blah, and the fact that we have allowed the government to get away with it is why it continues. Now, the situation we're in right here, if this does happen and he goes to jail for speech, it's only going to be worse. There's not going to be someone that says, okay, that's enough. BS. They're going to be like, all right, that worked. The American people allowed it. This is a new power we have, and we can do this. So
let's go back in time. Let's go back to when the Biden administration targeted James Rosen, a journalist, tried to put him in jail. When Obama charged whistleblowers and journalists under the Espionage Act more than any other president combined, than all the other presidents combined.
Yeah.
Imagine going back then when we were concerned about this and telling people in 10 years, they're going to put a guy in jail because he was on the Capitol grounds bullhorning. And then after the fact, he said stuff like, to a certain degree, we should be proud of what we did that day. He said something like, he maintains the election was stolen. One of the reasons they want him in jail is because they said, even after all of this, he still maintains the election was stolen. As if he has to publicly change his opinion. Yeah, this is Soviet level. This is Culture Revolution level, communist, authoritarianism. Welcome to the future.
And it happens very quickly. Very quickly. It goes from you're free to you're not free. I mean, look, we're discussing 10 years.
And think about the past few years.
Yeah.
Think about where we were 6-7 years ago. And it's laughable to me that there are people who are like, you're overreacting, or you're it's exaggerating, or it's shot content. I'm like, dude, I think the issue is that everybody is standing in the middle of the forest. And when you tell them, dude, you are in the middle of the forest, like, what do you mean? It's just a handful of trees. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm like, bro, you can't tell where all the other trees are because you're standing in the middle of all of them.
Yeah, you got to look at 9/11. I mean, 9/11 is like, when you see those buildings fall in free fall, most people can understand it when they see the side.
Okay, hold on. Nah, like
you want to talk about
you just jumped
slow boil
way too far.
That's the beginning of this totalitarian seizure, man.
And I can respect that, but you got to slow down a little bit.
The way that the government,
you got to talk about. Okay, so we ended up in this position with the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization
it was
Act,
like 2010 or something.
2000, I think that was 12. Which gave which signed into law the indefinite detention provision, which is an offshoot of what is effectively the Bush era expansion of authoritarianism and anti-terror policies and the expansion of the creation of DHS, which emerges out of the Patriot Act, which starts after 9/11.
I watched it happen in real time too. It was crazy. And
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying we got to explain to people how we get from point A to point B.
Right. This would set like a precedent for that to be acceptable if they were to pull that off.
And now it is. Now we're here. When we talked in 2012 about the indefinite detention provision that Obama signed into law, the NDA provision that says they could snatch you up in the middle of the night without charge or trial, hold you on a military vessel 11 miles off the coast of this country and rendition you. We were like, that's scary. And the response from everybody is, oh, you're nuts. That's never going to happen. Shut your mouths. Mm-hmm. Because now we're at the point where they're arresting journalists. They've been targeting journalists. That's the Obama era. Around the same time, going after Rosen. Julian Assange. That's an informal assassination as far as I'm concerned. Owen Shroyer said bombastic things outside the Capitol. And for that, they want to go to prison. This is the next grain of sand. They're going after lawyers. They're going after they're going after politicians. It's not just Trump. They removed Coy Griffin in New Mexico from the ballot. This is well beyond the point. We are potentially a couple years away from the actual implementation of an indefinite detention act.
The Trump, and I hate the fact that this is so prescient now, but Trump said they're not coming after you, or they're not coming after me. They're coming after you. I'm just in the way. And I hate the fact that it looks like that's the case. The idea that it's just Trump is something that I've been pushing back against with Democrats, specifically shitlibs, for a long time, because they think, oh, well, Donald Trump is different. Donald Trump is different. It's like, the thing that's different is the behavior of the Democrats and the left. The influence of authoritarianism in the United States on the left is undeniable. And the fact that people have been ignoring it or just saying, no, it's not true, likely because they don't believe it's true, because they have normal jobs and normal lives and they're not steeped in this stuff like people that do this stuff all the time. But the fact of the matter is, the federal government has never been more authoritarian. They're throwing people in jail in the way that they did, like during the Civil War and in the 1920s, or no, was it Wilson that threw people in jail? FDR threw people in jail, but it's
FDR
back
did,
to the old, authoritarian government, and that's not acceptable. We've said this a bunch. I don't see the off ramp. If this is accepted, what's going to be next? Because it's not going to be, oh, we're going to chill out. It would take someone in the Democrat Party in power standing up and saying, we can't do this. And there is no one that even wants to. They're all enjoying it.
I think it's going to come from us, to be honest.
That's scary.
Yeah, it is scary, but you know what? Nobody's coming to save you. And you see this everywhere where authoritarianism just takes hold. Everybody's like, well, we just need a savior. And that's why you get that charismatic leader that comes in and destroys the country. And, maybe that charismatic leader that we need to save us is Trump, but I doubt it.
No, I think
he was in power before, and he did nothing for Julian Assange. He did nothing for Edward Snowden. He did nothing for Ross Ulbricht. He's done nothing to change the situation that we're in now. He had the opportunity. 4 years was plenty.
Yeah, but there's nobody else.
There is nobody else. I agree with you.
Right.
There's nobody else. And
So
at this point, it's Trump or nobody. But we can't expect that Trump is going to come save us.
Yeah,
we have to
I agree.
understand that it's going to come from us, and it's going to come from Americans. Number one, understanding history, understanding where this is going, and then doing something about it, because they can't control us if we don't allow them to.
You were talking earlier about Venezuela. Can you go ahead and relate some of the things that you were telling us about? Because this is important now, because this is something that it's possible that we're going to have to worry about. We have got, there are people that and I really do want you to, but I want to say this first. People that deny that there is a problem on the left, they need to go to urban areas and talk to the political activists, the people that are on the ground working with the communities. Talk to them. You go to Brooklyn, there's DSA everywhere, which is the Democratic Socialists of America, full of commies, full of communists, and they're at the point where they'll tell you about it. So if you don't mind, go ahead and
somehow it's okay to be a communist in this country. Like, you would never call yourself.
Not according to me.
Well, let's start from the beginning. It wasn't that long ago. People don't realize this, that Venezuela was a wealthy capitalist nation.
Absolutely. So I wasn't born in Venezuela because my mom hightailed it back to the U.S. to have me. But I was taken to Venezuela when I was 9 days old, and I lived there until back and forth between the U.S. until I was 15. So, however, like, my age old is how long this has been going on. Not even, much less. I watched communism, socialism enter into Venezuela. Venezuela was one of the most prosperous nations in Latin America. Before Venezuela, it was Cuba, which was, of course, destroyed by the same ideology. And there's no way to talk about Venezuela without talking about Cuba, because Fidel Castro, the dictator of Cuba, trained Hugo Chavez in Cuba on how to do this. I think people just assume that it's easy to come into power and take over. He did it in the very similar ways to Castro. So yeah, it starts very similarly, and it's this class warfare. It starts with well, you're poor because that guy over there has your money. That guy over there, it has your jobs and your opportunities, and you're poor because of them. So you see the class warfare, and that's really where it started dawning on me here in the U.S. Like, oh wait, I've seen this before. It's that, and then authoritarianisms come in, and of course you can't. Your guns is the first thing they take. Unfortunately, here in the U.S., we have started to lose a little bit of our gun freedoms. And I understand that that's scary for some people, but...
I disagree on that one. It's actually not true.
What?
Gun rights have expanded rapidly and exponentially over the past 2 decades in ways that this country it's been good. Right, so DC versus Heller, the right for individuals to keep and bear arms outside of their home was 2008. If you look at the issuance of gun permits, there was not a single state that would allow you to have a gun for the most part back in the 80s. It was actually difficult to have guns. Now, we did have a different culture where people had rifles and there was gun clubs in schools. Mm-hmm. But in the past 20 years, the expansion of individual liberties and gun rights has been exponential to the point where now I think half the country is constitutional carry. It's probably safer to say open carry in more than half the country, which did not exist 20, 30 years ago.
What was it before that when we didn't have to?
You needed a permit, and they wouldn't give it to you.
When did we need a permit?
So even with the Second Amendment, you still had back in the day. Let's go back to the frontier era in New York. They didn't allow you to have guns. Second Amendment said you had the right to keep and bear arms, and it was in your house basically. And famously, you'll look at old westerns or whatever. The trope was, the American history was, you'd go into a town and they could order you to turn over your weapons. Now we're in an era, and again, for the most part, people would carry guns because you're out in the middle of nowhere and no one can enforce anything anyway. But we get into this modern era. You go back to the 1900s, we get the NFA, early 1900s. I think it was like the 20s. And they start expanding rapid control of firearms and making it harder and harder. It's actually, if you look at the map of the right to keep and bear arms without a permit, the government can't question you, started to emerge after the 80s. So we're actually doing really, really well.
That's amazing. Maybe
Yeah, it's
that's
really
why they're
good.
going after the First Amendment instead of the second one.
They are going after
because
the
you
Second
kind of
Amendment.
you
But-
kind of need to get rid of the first one too in order to,
They're-
go after the second one. Then
Well, they're going after the Second Amendment for sure. They're never stopping, but they are losing. And I think it's important for everyone to understand. I don't want to tell everybody, we won, hooray, stop fighting. No. You got to be vigilant. But you pull up a map of, it used to be every state was basically a no issue or may issue. You wanted a gun, you'd go to the police, you'd go to the government, say, can I get a permit? They'd say, sure. And then they'd never give it to you. Now, overwhelming, I think more than half this country is open carry, meaning if you're a resident, you can walk into a gun store, you do a federal background check, they hand you the gun, you can walk out holding it. Some states like West Virginia, Texas now, I don't know how many states are constitutional carry, but a lot. I'll
Texas is now.
Yeah, meaning you can walk in as a resident, you fill out your National Instant Check System, your NICS background check, and then they could jam you up for a few days. 3 days is the max. But typically, you'll be cleared within 5 or 10 minutes, and then you can actually take the weapon and conceal it on your person and go walk around. So those rights have been expanding rapidly, and I think it's important people know that I think we're winning across the board, and what we're seeing with the expansion of these extremist policies and the targeting of the likes of Owen Shroyer and these lawyers is that they're losing control.
26 states.
Our constitutional carry? That's what I thought, but it's crazy to think more than half the country allows you to just buy and carry a weapon.
Even
That's
crazier,
awesome.
I got my concealed carry permit like 2019, and then I just renewed it like yesterday, but I don't need it anymore. Like they're constitutional carry now.
Right,
in
like,
Texas.
and they say, if West Virginia, for instance, if you get your concealed carry permit, you don't even get the background check per weapon anymore because the process by which you get your concealed carry permit is your background check. Yeah. And at that point, you're allowed to just freely purchase weapons. Whereas if you don't have it, you have to get a background check every single time you buy.
They're making guns out of graphene now. Did you see that?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, little 22. Nice. Super lightweight, apparently.
Yeah, so if you take a look at this image, right to carry in 1986, and you can watch the progression.
This is awesome.
This is amazing. May issue means they're not giving it to you. No issue states. Texas would not give you a permit for carrying a weapon. In 2000, look at all these states, red states that are saying you can't carry. This is crazy.
Blue is constitutional carry, is that right?
Blue is shall issue, meaning that if you apply for a permit, they have to give you one. Unrestricted is constitutional carry. Look at the expansion of constitutional carry in this country. Here we go. 2019, 2020, 2021.
Yeah, that's a
look at this.
That's crazy.
That's people saying they don't like ESG, basically.
Look at the 86.
7?
You couldn't get a gun in these states.
Yeah.
All the yellow ones were may issue, meaning you'd apply, and they wouldn't give it to you. If you were lucky, maybe. That's crazy
the ultimate
to think.
defense, dude. You arm your citizens. You allow your citizens to arm themselves. It's the ultimate.
But
And
this is
stay
the-
organized.
This is the important thing to consider, the polarization and extremism that we're seeing. We are seeing a rise of communists, of authoritarians, and they are getting increasingly desperate. Despite the fact that we've been winning across the board on the issue of gun rights, they have been gaining control in institutions. They have been subverting our children, our education system, our entertainment industry, and now they're in government. And the likes of the Democratic Party have weaponized the DOJ to try and go after anyone that opposes them. But I think they're going to lose. I think they're going to lose. And this should say it right to everybody's face. Look, man, they have their victories. The conflict is never without your losses and your wins, but I think we're winning, and everything they're doing is panic and fear. But if at any point we stop and sit back and think it's over, they win it. They win it.
Yeah, we're in the middle of a global revolution of consciousness. Like, it is the new world order is forming. We have no time to waste. There's no reason to stop, to keep pushing. We need to change and create the world in the image of the United States Constitution, in my opinion. This is our one option.
I have a problem with the idea of us needing to do stuff for the rest of the world. That's very authoritarian, and it's very neocon and very stuff that we got ourselves into a lot of trouble in Iraq and Afghanistan and whole bunch of other places trying to do. It is not America's job to make the rest of the world like America. And that's part of why, like, nationalism should not be a dirty word. Like, you shouldn't be like jingoistic and be like, I want to export war for my country. But you should be like, it's okay for there to be countries with different laws. And I don't think that it's a good idea to, just because we believe that America has like the best system, we can believe that, but that doesn't mean that other people in other countries would agree. And I think that's what happened in Iraq. We went in there and we're like, we're going to deliver democracy. But the Iraqi people, the population that you're giving this new government or new structure to, has to be willing to accept it and want to do it. If America falls to an authoritarian government, it will be because the American people have said we accept this. It'll be because Democrats have said we're going to vote for the government to have this kind of power.
I want everyone to look at this map real quick. This is the finalized map of the country and your guns. Where it's green, you do not need a permit to carry concealed. That's crazy.
So you just walk into a gun shop and buy it off the shelf, put it in your pocket.
If you're
and
a
walk
resident,
out?
you still have to go through a federal background check. You can then take the weapon after being cleared, put it in your belt or your holster, cover it up, and walk on out. You don't need a permit.
Very cool.
Where it's blue, you do need a permit, but no longer do we have the may issue or no issue states. It used to be, and this ruling just dropped. What was the ruling? It was just like a year ago or whatever when
Which
they
one?
said when the Supreme Court ruled you have to give a permit to carry if you have a permit.
I remember when it happened, but I don't remember what it's called.
Maryland, for instance, and New Jersey were considered no issue.
Yeah.
They call themselves may issue. You apply for a permit, and they claim everyone can get a gun. But then in Maryland and New Jersey and parts of California, you'd say, okay, I'd like to get a permit. They say, what do you need it for? And you'd have to give them a reason they approve of. And they never approve. Hold on. If you're rich, they approve. Yep.
So
Rich
it's a
people.
class issue.
Oh, hands down. Rich people would and celebrities would go in and say, I need a gun. They'd say, why? And they would say, I'm worth millions of dollars and I'm concerned for my safety. And they go, oh, right away, sir. Right away. And you get your permit. Regular working class person says, look, I want to keep my family safe. They say, how dare you come in here? Get out of here. And the cops with a smile on their face will arrest you if you try and defend yourself under Second Amendment rights.
It seems like the legal system is class warfare at its finest because
100%.
any rich person can buy their way out of jail.
I don't think it's just being rich. Trump is rich. It's not just the money. It's who you are. It's who you know.
Right. Connections. But money plays a big role. For example, in Wrigleyville in Chicago, everybody knows this. It's like, I don't know what the current ticket is. It used to be $50 if you parked illegally. And you know what that means? It means if you want to park to go to see a baseball game, it's $50.
Street parking,
Yep.
$50.
Exactly. Because it's so hard to find parking, people would park in front of fire hydrants and be like, I don't care. I'll take the $50 ticket. Otherwise, I'm not getting parking.
The only problem with that is if they're going to go ahead and tell you. If you're in a place they don't tell you? Where?
So I almost never saw anybody get towed because there's too many cars illegally parked.
Okay.
So
Yeah, civil disobedience.
there are some tow companies that be like, all right, boys, let's start pulling them in because we're about to make money. But for the most part, everybody it was normal that everyone did it. However, one time someone double parked in front of my apartment where my friend's car was, and we ain't playing no games. We needed to use the car. And so it's just like, no, I don't care.
Baloney.
Call the tow
Called the
company.
tow company.
Tow company came and took it away.
I wanted to finish off what we were talking about, Phil, earlier, a few minutes ago, that spreading American exceptionalism around Earth, because I used to be kind of ambivalent about it. Then the wars over in the Middle East happened. I'm like, no, I'm done. Go back to isolation. We do not need to be involved. Head in the sand. Forget about it. Focus on me. And then shit just went like the whole globe just started to take the United States over, like culture war, international deceit, using the internet, twisting people, deepfakes, messing with your politicians. And like, we do need to be involved with auditing and editing the world's police force and the world's governance. I don't want to do it by force of military. That obviously failed in the Middle East. I think that almost always, not always, it doesn't always fail. You can conquer, and 80 years later, if you're willing to face the attrition, those will be your people. But it takes generations for that to happen. And we're not really in a world with everything happening so quick. But
World War II kind of put an end to that stuff. But
of colonization. And
yeah, because the thing is, when you industrialize war and make it possible to annihilate entire cities, the idea of using force and war to conquer territory kind of stops being acceptable. And that's part of the reason why there's been proxy wars and small wars since World War II, but we've managed to avoid a global world war, because there has been the effort by the West to prevent other countries from having nuclear weapons, which we talked about the other night. To prevent the what's the word they use? Anyways, other countries from getting nuclear weapons.
Yeah,
but
proliferation.
Proliferation. Thank you. But the point is, I'm sorry, I lost it. Go ahead with what you're saying.
Well, you're saying that it's hard to conquer and amalgamate the population with total war tactics.
Yeah, it's
these
too
days.
dangerous.
But so I don't know, I'm open to hearing what you guys think about. You do kind of have to force I'm forcing this conversation right now in a sense. It's not warlike.
Not really. Good ideas don't require force.
But for me to even come up here and sit down and put a camera on and like force myself to be in this situation, I could easily be playing video games alone in my room in a studio apartment in the middle of the city.
People copy what they see that they like. And you know what? That's why the United States was the United States. And everywhere else, like when I lived in Venezuela, everything the United States did was awesome. And everybody wanted to be like the United States. Maybe they didn't say it outright. I mean, we talked about it a whole lot in Venezuela. It's like, ooh, did you buy that in the U.S.? It's special because you got it in the U.S. Like, people want to copy what is good. And so if we were that country that we were supposed to be, people would be copying us. Unfortunately, that's not us anymore.
And that was back in the 90s when people were like, it's U.S., I love it, I love it.
They loved it.
Because from the 50s all the way through. I mean, blue jeans, there's people say that the thing that took the Soviet Union out was blue jeans.
But so we were just as corrupt.
It was the economic.
Our country was just as corrupt in the 90s, but people didn't know. So they still worshiped the United States and were willing to take on its ideals.
I didn't know. I lived in Venezuela and I was like, wow, this is corrupt. That country over there, America, they're so great. It's not corrupt. And then I get here and I'm like, oh, boy,
it's almost
wrong.
a justification to hide our corruption from the world.
We do corruption so well, though. I mean,
and to be fair, as far as corruption goes, the United States is exceptional. Right, in other countries are really bad. Like there are countries.
Police.
There are countries where if you get pulled over, like you're not getting a ticket, you're handing him $100 or you're going to jail. That's it. There's one or the other.
In Venezuela, it's alcohol, though.
I want to jump to the story as we talk about the love for America. From Marca.com, Trump supporters unveil massive Trump or death banner, they say flag, at Yankees game. Take a look at this image. 1776, 2024, Trump or death. That kind of freaks me out. It's like, if Trump doesn't get elected, what are they saying? Are they saying, give me liberty or give me death, except it's Trump instead of liberty?
No, I don't know. That's the slogan of Cuba right there.
Are they saying that if Trump isn't elected, it will be death?
What is the slogan of Cuba?
Patria o muerte. Your country or death. That's the slogan. That's a Cuban slogan right there, which is why that song went viral, the Patria Vida. Like your country or death. That's the slogan for Cuba.
What's the direct literal translation? It's patriot?
Patria is your homeland. Homeland or death.
Wow.
Yeah, with was it Thomas Henry? Give me liberty or give me death? That's the whole give me exactly what I want or I'll die.
No, that's not what he's saying. He's saying leave me alone or I will fight you. Oh. That's what's being implied.
Well,
liberty, the freedom to do what I want, or I will fight for that liberty, and that means I will fight to the death for that liberty.
As opposed to give me X or die.
It's not. It's not give me
liberty
thing.
or give me death.
Yeah, it's leave me alone.
You have two choices. Either you're going to give me my liberty, or you're going to have to kill me.
But giving liberty is basically leave me alone. It's not give me Donald Trump. Give me a result. It's stay off my lawn. Basically.
So liberty is a negative, right? So you don't need to be given a thing, or you don't need someone else to act on your behalf. It's not a positive action to have liberty, right? So give me liberty is leave me alone.
Like, don't try
don't
and give
take
me
a
anything.
positive action against me.
But in Cuba, it's like worship the homeland, or
That was
suffer.
that was Fidel's slogan. That's
Yeah.
what they came into Cuba with, was Patria o Muerte. So, when I saw that flag, I was like, whoa, that's authoritarian AF.
Yeah, man. You mentioned the charismatic guy that comes in and destroys the world. I feel like Obama did it, and then Trump just kept going with it.
Well, we all thought Obama was going to be our savior, right? I mean, like, that was the big thing. I didn't. I'm sure nobody at this table
I
did,
didn't
but
think so. I felt like that.
yeah,
was
I
like,
mean, a lot of
finally
people.
we got it.
Yeah, and it was like, he's this great guy. He looks good on camera. Man, the man can dress. And he says all the right things, and then drops a few bombs on kids and American citizens, and it's just, I don't know. It's scary to watch. It's scary to watch and pay attention.
Obama is more likely to be the charismatic. Like, if someone were to come to me and said, "Do you think that the charismatic leader who leads the world to destruction is around today?" I'd be like, "It's possible." If you came to me and said you thought it was either Trump or Obama, I'd be like, "Oh, there's no question, it's not Trump." The dude certainly has charisma, but he also has serious issues with half the country, and a lot of people really don't like him. He's not. Yeah.
They're
no.
forcing us to
Obama-
like him. They're
Obama
forcing us to like him.
is the famous silver tongue, world leader celebrity who was doing awful,
Yeah,
horrible
but Trump.
things.
Well, I don't know if I'd say awful, but Trump was like a movie star. He was a TV star, like a character actor, with telling jokes, being like, "You're fired," with a smile, calling Rosie O'Donnell fat. Like, just a charismatic. Even though you would say,
Hilarious.
but you can be charismatic and cruel, or charismatic and say mean things that upset people charismatically, and he did that. So,
But
half
my
the people
point is
loved him.
simply, if it came down to who do you think out of the two is more likely to be the charismatic leader who leads the world to ruin, it's Obama.
I felt like it was a package. It was 2008 to 2020. We had this mess of celebrity in charge that just made it about who can smack talk better. And it got hotter the longer it went on.
I think that's probably just an artifact of this is your generation.
But it never happened
Because
before.
Ronald Reagan was a movie star.
But he didn't act like that. He wasn't like
He
cruel.
did. I was literally watching a documentary earlier. It's hilarious, by the way. And I forgot what it's called, but it's like how my dad got radicalized from a Democrat to far right because of Rush Limbaugh. And it was really hilarious watching this thing because it's mirror reality. I mean, they got the guy from Media Matters. And Media Matters just posts like insane lies all the time and conspiracy theories. And I'm like, to act like you're not in the cult and you're listening to this guy. But in it, they're talking about Ronald Reagan. They're talking about Richard Nixon. They're talking about the fast, quick one-liners and demagoguery and celebrity and building cults of personality. And I'm like, oh, this is really fun.
Yeah, they did it with Clinton.
And
He
this
played the
is like-
saxophone on Arsenio Hall or something.
Right.
No, on MTV, man.
This documentary is about Rush Limbaugh. This is about like, the 90s and the 2000s. This is not about even Trump. They've been saying the same thing over and over again. They said Bush was Hitler. Every Republican is Hitler. It's the same game they play every single time.
The difference is social media, because if Reagan wasn't able to get his word out without the networks going on to David Letterman or something, so that it was all network approved. But Trump bypasses the FCC and goes straight to the mouth with like Twitter. And it just upended the entire, like, any kind of normalcy or like things
Control.
you don't go on national television and call someone a fat pig when you're the president. Use that pulpit and that power and that authority to demean someone's physical appearance. It's like, what in the hell did he just do to the essence of the United States presidency? That was a terrible misuse of power, in my opinion.
I mean, I don't think that Obama was really like I don't think that Trump was really significantly worse than other presidents. Like
They're significantly better.
yeah, like when it comes to rhetoric and stuff like that,
Foreign policy.
people act like the rhetoric that he had like was so bad, and I agree with you about
Right.
foreign policy. But I don't think that he really was. He was a little more direct in the way that he spoke, but he wasn't. And maybe other presidents were. They had a little more finesse, but the thing that people liked about Trump was that he was just saying it like it is, right? Like he was an authentic guy. He was BSing people, but it was not It didn't seem like it was canned or written by a speechwriter, and that people related to that.
He's honest where it matters.
Yeah.
He's like, we're going to keep soldiers in Syria for the oil. We got to keep the oil. We're doing really well. It's like, wow.
Yeah, he just
said, we're
said-
going to sell weapons to Saudi Arabia. And we're like, okay, all right. And then he would be like, my hair's real and I'm the best and everyone loves me. And you're like, okay, Trump. It's like he lies a lot. But the things he lies about, I don't care about. Yeah. It's like...
How many people were at his inauguration?
Yeah, exactly. How many people were there? Oh, it's the biggest you've ever seen. It's like, we know it wasn't, but fine, whatever. Dude. Look, if Donald Trump is sitting there and he's like... He's in his room saying, oh, there's 1 million people here right now watching me sign these peace agreements in the Middle East. I'm like, that's right. They're all watching and waiting for you to sign those peace agreements. Please sign them. Like, I don't care if Trump wants to lie about the size of inauguration or the women he's been with and all this weird, stupid, nonsense cultural crap. I care that we got the Abraham Accords. I care that the economy was doing well. I care that he took tremendous efforts to try and bring peace to parts of the world, like in North Korea. And they attack him for it. And that one deeply offends me, and I love saying it. Trump crossed the demilitarized zone into enemy territory with no security detail. Yeah. Nah, you can F off. Anybody who's like, Trump's ponying up to dictators, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, nice try, dude. That's not going to fly. They could have captured the president right there on the spot and made demands. I mean, they wouldn't. Trump was right. He knew the move to be made, but it was a tremendous sign of good faith. Trump can tell me that his house is made of cheese and graham crackers and sugar and candy canes, and he can look me square in the eyes and lie. He can tell me that his toilet is made of solid gold, and I'll say, whatever you say, dude. Keep working on those peace agreements, and I'm satisfied.
Just be like, are you sure it's solid? Isn't it just a plated?
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
I think it's plated.
It's like Zoolander. Yeah. When Zoolander looks at the what is the Institute for Kids Who Can't Read Good or whatever, and he's like, how are we going to teach them to read if they can't fit in the building? And then Mugatu is like, he's absolutely right. Like that, I'm saying, if Trump wants me to believe that he had the biggest inauguration or any other nonsense like that, and he keeps saying it, I'm just going to be like, yes, you are completely correct, sir. And that's all of those people at your inauguration are cheering for you as you sign the Abraham Accords and try and bring peace to the Middle East.
I was thinking the other night, like, who was the best president of my lifetime? That comes up a lot on the show.
Trump.
And I was like, well, there's two ways to answer the question. One is with retrospect. The other one is at that point in my life, who was it? Thinking of like, in this moment, who is the best? It was Bill Clinton. Because in the late 90s or in the early mid 90s, he was able to rally and like make the United States seem like the greatest country on earth. For all of us, it felt like
that.
It felt like we ended the Cold War, and it was finally we've solved war. It felt like it was really done. Mm-hmm. And then you find out later they're part of a military war machine, and I don't know what happened in Bosnia and shit. Like he was
Trump's the best president of my life, and
he's just so divisive. That's why I don't pick him.
I disagree. I blame the corrupt Uniparty establishment. Trump was a massive celebrity, loved by everybody. Barack Obama said the American dream was to be Trump. But Trump was an outsider who wanted to do things like bring back manufacturing, secure our borders, and the TPP. I got to tell you, when he crushed the TPP, that's probably one of the biggest moments where the knives came out. Yep. And then they did everything in their power to make everybody hate Trump. And I'm like, everybody loved the guy. He was in Home Alone. I'm going to say it again. Barack Obama said the American dream is to be Donald Trump. That was the idea before he decided to run for president, and they came after him. And even the people who, there are certain celebrities who are like, oh, I've been good friends with the Trump family. They're all very, very nice. But Trump's a fascist. And I'm like, oh, get out of here with that. Mm-hmm. Look, it is not hard to say that Trump is the greatest president of my lifetime. Because who am I comparing him to? Bill Clinton? No, please.
You can't. George Bush was my least favorite.
So in my lifetime, I've had H.W. Bush, Clinton, W. Bush, Obama, and Trump. And certainly you can compliment some of these presidents for some things. But come on. H.W. Bush? Oh, please, dude. What do you say? We're beginning to see the makings of a new world order. And all of that neocon garbage and Desert Storm and everything they tried to do. You get Bill Clinton. And don't get me wrong, there was some good economic stuff. But there's a whole lot of stuff wrong with what Bill Clinton's presidency. And I have to say, for the most part, when it comes to those two presidents, in my lifetime, there was nothing in my life that they did that mattered. And so the most I can say is Bill Clinton's got all the scandals. I mean,
what
Monica
scandal?
Lewinsky.
Oh my God, that was like the stupidest scandal of all time.
Oh no, I'm right. I'm saying In terms,
Oh my God, a
in-
famous man who had sex outside of marriage. Like, wow, I'm shocked.
But in terms of what mattered to me, H.W. Bush was bad with war. With Clinton, we certainly had a great degree of conflict. With George W. Bush, we got the worst of it in my lifetime with Iraq and Afghanistan, the expansion of conflict in the Middle East, Barack Obama's extrajudicial assassinations of American citizens, and then we get Trump. And for everything I can't say about the Clinton years, because I was too little, I can say no new wars, Abraham Accords, peace agreements in Europe, getting people to commit to paying their fair share with NATO, working on peace agreements with North Korea, securing our borders, bringing back manufacturing. There's no question. It really is an easy answer.
I don't want to repeat myself too much, but I believe one of the president's main jobs is to unify the states. Preside over the United States and keep them united. And if a president comes in and tells half the country that they're not part of the group, or
Who said that?
well,
Maybe it's
Clinton.
a libertarian in me.
Clinton said that?
I'm sorry. I can't tell you which is my favorite president because I don't have one, because all of them have done some terrible things. And I think they should pretty much all be kind of charged.
I mean, there's
Yeah,
there's
like now
grounds.
Clinton was on Epstein's plane.
There's a lot about Clinton.
Yeah, so it's hard for me sitting here because it's like, yeah, Obama looked great when he was wearing his suits and bombing people, across the world. Like, it's really hard. And also, the United States, if you look at it that way, where we need some leader, would be the largest corporation on the planet. And I just can't imagine that anybody who's running for office, even Donald Trump, who's, I'm sure, a great business person, however, I just can't envision anybody being able to actually manage a corporation with 330 million people and trillions of dollars. So
Bureaucracy, too.
yeah, I love the United States. I think this country is an amazing place, and I think we should go back to that freedom that allowed us to be that amazing place. I do not believe that there is somebody in Washington writing down, some magic scroll that'll somehow protect us or do something. We just need our freedom.
to get to that point, you mentioned like going back to what was good, but we're going to go forward to a new envisioning of what was good or what is good. How would you define
Yeah, I think
that?
we need a new vision for it, but we should go back to the Constitution. I mean, I just don't think that we need this level of micromanagement. And I think with technology today, we could really achieve it without necessarily having this. I mean, what does your local government do? And I ran for a seat in a local government in Miami-Dade County. We have 3 million people and a $10.3 billion budget. That was billion with a B. That is larger than nations. That's larger than El Salvador, that has same amount of people and a $6 billion budget. What do those local people do? What exactly are they achieving for you? Do we have transportation in Miami-Dade County? We do not. Nothing worthwhile. I mean, it's terrible. Do they run anything well? No, they don't. And so what are you getting for all of these taxes that you're giving up? What are we doing here? And I'm sorry, I don't see it. I think that we really need to think this through. We've been giving up our freedoms more and more and more each day. For what? I mean, are you getting your money's worth? Do you feel like you're getting?
I don't know. I don't know where the money's going. I send
I
a
can
check to
tell
the
you.
government. It disappears into the ether.
I can tell you on the local level, Miami-Dade County, we pay for all sorts of things that you would probably just be, flabbergasted if you looked at our budget.
Like what?
Oh, okay. So, for example, I don't know what the budget is right now for, the homeless. And I think that's something that everybody, I want people to have a home. I want people to be well. I don't want them to be out on the streets and living horrible lives. So our budget is over $45 million a year. Do the number of homeless ever change? No. Do we still have homeless? Yes.
That's a cultural problem.
Absolutely. And
We
I don't
can't
think
solve that with money.
we can't solve it with money. I think there's people that do not want to live in this society. And I don't think you're going to just throw money at it and solve that problem. So the number of homeless we have, I think generally is around 3,000. And so when you divide the amount of money we have, by the people that are unhoused, you come up with some crazy number. You could afford apartments for these people. Like, what are we doing with that
Paying
money?
administrators
Yeah, but
that maintain their jobs because they keep
Bureaucracy.
making money
people
every
who are
year.
homeless aren't homeless because they can't afford houses.
Then why are we paying $45 million out of Miami-Dade County people who pay their taxes? Why is somebody losing their home Because that's what happens. If you can't afford to pay your property taxes, you will lose your home. The government will take away your home and put it on the auction and sell it.
That is one of the most offensive things that I can think of. Like property
Absolutely.
tax is disgusting.
Yeah.
Once you own a piece of property, you buy it, you shouldn't have to rent it from the government. Like that is
And
insane.
it's obscene amounts of money, And so, you're paying this money every single year. You can't opt out of it. You can't say, you know what, I'm not using any of your systems. I don't use public transportation. I'm not homeless. Like, how can I opt out? I can't. So if I can't afford to maintain my house, the government will take it from me. And so I'm paying for, all these services. And it's just wrong.
So people will pay for homeless people through taxes, and then if they can't afford their own home,
They will
the
become
government
homeless.
will take their home away from them because they spent their house money on other people's homelessness.
That's why I decided to run in the first place. I lived in my grandfather's house when I couldn't afford, when I had a child at 21 and I couldn't afford to live, and I moved in with my grandfather and he was like, hey, can you take care of the bills? And, you can live here for free. And I realized property taxes, my grandfather couldn't pay for it. He would have been out on the street. And that's generally who is affected the most. It's the elderly. It is people who have some type of disability. It is somebody who's going through hard times, medical difficulties. They lose their homes because they couldn't pay for all the wish list that the government, those people who you elect, that sit there and are just like, they don't take public transportation. They have security provided by government, provided by the police. They have all these things and they make these decisions for you. And if you don't comply, you will lose your home.
Michael Schellenberger.
One potential solution would be to, we could install lights in the palms of everyone's hands. And as they get closer to turning 30, the light begins to turn red. And then when they turn 30, it flashes red, where we then take them and excise them from society.
Wow.
That's how we can handle in the future. Of course, we may have to deal with people who try to flee and don't want to undergo. What was it called?
I got the darkest.
It's Logan's Run, but
What?
it's from the movie Logan's Run. They called it something though, like I forgot what it's called.
I don't remember.
Yeah, like when you turn 30, they called it something.
Oh.
And like the light on your hand flashes, and then they kill you.
I think if that was the case, I'm sorry, guys. Bye.
I mean, everybody in this room,
I feel
right?
I'm well over.
I'm well over 30.
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
The
the
homelessness crisis is insane. The way that it's been handled and talked about is very insane. Michael Schellenberger works out of California, and he really exposed
Carousel. Is that what it was
the
called?
carousel.
Yeah, they called it Carousel.
I think it was Schellenberger that exposed the homelessness in the homeless industry, industrial complex.
It's an industry, absolutely.
And they receive money every year to fix it, but instead of actually getting homeless people homes, they just pay the administrators, the bureaucracy to maintain the status quo. You still have the same people are still homeless, and they keep making every
You want
year.
the kicker so I'm sorry I'm talking about Miami-Dade. It's what I know, so pardon me, But in Miami-Dade County, the person who runs the Homeless Trust, which is who has all this money, is Ron Book, who is the largest, what would this be, lobbyist for government. So, I mean, that's, I guess, his reward is he gets to run this thing. And, he's been doing it for, I want to say, about 20 years.
You said that there's the same amount of homeless people every year. Are they new people? Like, are the people getting off the street and the new people are arriving, or is it just tough to tell?
You look at a number, it's 3,000. But I mean, everybody. So where I live, there's not a whole lot of homeless because they generally live in downtown where, they have more access to bathrooms and whatnot. So it's hard to tell, but we generally, you kind of know who, the homeless guy is. Everybody knows the guy on the corner, and he's always there. And they come around and they sweep every now and then and remove him and, throw out all his stuff, his few possessions. And it's so sad. It's the saddest thing, honestly.
Hit them with fire hoses in the morning?
No,
They were
not
doing
in
that
Miami.
San Francisco.
No, we're not that cruel. We're not there yet. Give it a few.
4 a.m. They just come in and there's video of it. It's
It's god awful, honestly.
Were you going to say something, Phil? Looked like you're about to jump on an idea.
Not particularly, no.
I do want to talk about this story, though. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not going to be Donald Trump, nor will it be Joe Biden. The man who will save this world is Elon Musk. I'm being facetious. That's kind of the joke, but I'm also only half joking.
Online
Aside
internet
from
trolls
Elon
aside.
challenging the narrative machine of the ADL, calling out corrupt politicians, securing, not perfectly, but helping people bring back free expression on social media, Elon Musk, it is being reported now, averted World War III and may have saved the planet from nuclear annihilation. The probability of that being, the circumstance is probably very, very low, but it just sounds fun, so I want to say it. The story is actually really simple. We have this from the Washington Post. Elon Musk cut internet to Ukraine's military as it was attacking Russian fleet. So the first story that comes out is that while this major counteroffensive was underway, Elon Musk shuts down Starlink, cutting their communications, stopping the offensive. Elon Musk responded, saying there was an emergency request from government authorities to activate Starlink all the way to Sevastopol. The obvious intent being to sink most of the Russian fleet at anchor. If I had agreed to their request, then SpaceX would be explicitly complicit in a major act of war and conflict escalation. I wonder if, wrong article, if Ukraine sank Russia's Black Sea fleet using SpaceX, using U.S. weapons and intelligence, would Russia have dramatically escalated the conflict at the time? There is a possibility it may have been the case. I don't know for sure, but Elon Musk refused to provide Starlink to be used by the Ukrainians in this counteroffensive.
Do you know?
He may have single-handedly stopped a major escalation, which could have led to World War III.
Do you know what the size of the fleet was and the makeup of the fleet in Sevastopol at the time?
No, we do know that U.S. provided intelligence to Ukraine to sink their flagship. So I don't know.
That actually happened. That happened in the Black Sea in open water.
Yep. Ukraine used U.S. weapons and intelligence. And I think it's even unfair to say the U.S. sank the flagship of Russia's Black Sea fleet. And Ukraine was intending to do more damage. And Elon Musk said, I'm not going to assist you with this. Could you imagine if he did? That's crazy.
He was pretty open in the early days that he didn't want to be involved with the war. And I think he was going to he was going to send Starlink to Ukraine, and then they said no because they wouldn't do it under his terms or something. And then he was like, okay then. And they're like, actually, we need it. So then he sent it over there. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
He's trying to protect Earth until we can get off of it and go to Mars.
The men who built America were not politicians. They were businessmen.
Yeah.
But I'm curious. I mean, in terms of the Uniparty establishment machine, man, Elon Musk is running afoul. But it shows the decay of the Uniparty power in that Elon Musk openly defies them, does not allow them to wage war using his infrastructure. This is unprecedented. If you look at Twitter before Elon, they gleefully gave the government anything they wanted. It kind of, I'm optimistic, man.
He's making me into a bigger fan.
Social media was part of the CIA.
I'm looking at a restoration of true American values of decentralization of power. And for the longest time, we had an authoritarian uniparty that did whatever it wanted, regardless of the Constitution. Now, you look at all of their devices, you look at the activist base, you look at the narrative machine, and they're failing across the board. People tweeting about how the ADL no longer has any power. They say, all these people who are criticizing us are white supremacists, and everyone laughs. No one cares anymore. They have been defanged.
It's kind of like the Uniparty. When two Uniparties go at it, it creates an opportunity for a revolution. That's what happened with
two uniparties?
Yeah.
We don't need a revolution. Revolution's a bad word.
What happened with the American founding fathers is that there was a uniparty of the Brits and there was the uniparty of the French.
No, that is completely
And they went at each other, and the result was a liberation.
They were totally different countries, though.
Yeah, they were like two separate, like they were monarch. They were literal uniparties. And now we have the American uniparty, the liberal economic order, and the Chinese Rus liberal, or not liberal, but it's a uniparty.
I see what you're saying, but
and they're clashing in Ukraine. So now there's an opportunity for businessmen to step in and create something new.
I see what you are saying, like the unilateral rule of the United States clashing with other authoritarians, but Russia may be aligned with China and BRICS and everything, but when you get to the global scale, it's not a uniparty. There's greater conflict between nations.
I suppose the CCP's uniparty and the British...
Uniparty refers to, in the United States, the Democrats and Republicans that are secretly aligned and pretend to be opposed to each other.
Yeah, well, the Chinese Communist Party is literally a uniparty that runs that country.
But the United States and China are not aligned, so it's not a global uniparty. It's
it's two uniparties going at each other. So that's why I think it's an opportunity for the private sector to be like, while you guys quibble, we're going to create something functional. And you see Elon doing it in real time.
Maybe we should call it in the United States the former uniparty because they've lost too much power at this point. You know, look, I know that they're arresting and charging people and all that stuff, but they're really failing at it every step of the way. Their ability to influence is weakening drastically.
I just
every
watched
week.
Mehdi Hassan interview Vivek Ramaswamy, and there's lag. It's MSNBC 2023, and they still have lag in their video conference.
Well, it's always been the case with satellite.
It has. Like, I use Zoom, there's no lag. I use Skype, there's no lag. What the hell infrastructure is this archaic dinosaur of a media monolith using that there's still freaking lag and they can't have a...
Sometimes they can't even figure out stereo and mono. Like,
Do you guys
hear it in one ear and like...
Do you guys remember when CNN did the satellite interview from the same parking lot?
Yeah.
2 people in the same parking lot, and they did a satellite interview as if they were different places.
So the reason I brought up lag and MSNBC is because I think that's just evidence of what you're saying, that the Uniparty function is crumbling. They're just so behind the times.
Oh, the ratings are in the gutter. Their influence is down, is almost gone. The fact that Elon bought Twitter and turned it into X is a huge example of this. They were using Twitter as a weapon to spy on people, to control and to influence, and now they've lost it. It's remarkable how much they keep losing, which is why they're getting desperate and trying to remove Trump from the ballot and have him arrested, because they know they're losing.
I'd like for the American government to win. I don't know if there's just one government.
I'd like for the American people to win.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm on that team. You know what? I will say that we're winning. The American people are winning when Assange is freed. When we have Edward Snowden back in the U.S. without fear of him going to jail for a long time. When people like Ross Ulbricht are free. Like I hear what you're saying and I want to believe it, but we're not there quite yet. We just sentenced a man to 22 years in prison, to Enrique Tarrio, which I don't agree with him, necessarily, but what did he do? He wasn't even in the Capitol building. Like, what are we doing here?
Agreement is entirely irrelevant. I'm not trying
absolutely.
to even discuss whether or not you agree actually blunts the point. It doesn't matter about
it. Does not matter. However, internet people will then be like, oh my God, you're a fan. I mean, I was already called, during my campaign, I took a picture with somebody and they were like,
revel in their contempt. Welcome their contempt.
I
Work
do,
for it.
absolutely. But I'm just saying, I don't support the Proud Boys. However, you know what they've done to this guy is horrible.
Yep.
Absolutely horrible. And if they can do it to him, they can do it to you. And that's the problem. If they're going to come after people, it's going to be people like us in this room. It's going to be people who are speaking out and saying things. And if they can put Enrique Tarrio, who 5 years ago, I didn't even know who the guy was. And all of a sudden, he deserves 22 years in prison.
I don't know. He texted people to stay? Is that what it was?
He texted people to go do something. If I text you to go do something,
so
like, are you going to do it?
The defense said that he wasn't in contact with anyone that day. And apparently the prosecution and the media is reporting that he said, don't leave. But I don't know the context to which he said, don't leave. Was it the day before they were like, hey, we're in D.C., what should we do? It's like, well, don't leave. And now they're making it seem like he was saying stay in the Capitol. The defense said he didn't contact them at any point. I will say, if it comes to the point where they begin going beyond the scope of, Owen Shroyer, who was on the ground, and they're saying his speech warrants a prison sentence. He was on the ground, and that's their pretext for the arrest. If they escalate to the point where they're coming after pundits, I would argue that out of anyone in this room, Ian's the first person they'd target.
Man,
you know why?
Because I got long hair, bro, and I'm a wizard.
This happened with when I was with Luke Rutkowski in Chicago, and the police we believe they planted drugs in the apartment we were staying at. They target people who are less likely to be able to muster up legal defense funds. So if they wanted to disrupt a show like this and make claims about rhetoric or inflammatory things, would they go after me? Well, that's probably a bad idea. It would create a huge PR press storm. It would create a huge backlash. We'd generate tons of money, and it would create a huge legal fight. Would they go after Phil Labonte, multi-platinum recording artist? I mean, that could create a huge wave across the entertainment industry. Ian, on the other hand, you are the least likely out of anyone here to be able to muster up a strong legal defense. Granted, we would defend you. What I'm saying is, I don't think anyone's going to come and try and arrest you. I'm saying the target of who they go after is who can we get easily. Enrique Tarrio, the Proud Boys, most people don't know who he is. They're not going to look.
Yep.
They're waiting to go after Trump until they can build everything up on the ground, because they know a direct move against Trump is it makes him millions of dollars. It strengthens him. It builds his base.
Look
It's
at the
happening.
mugshot.
Yeah,
the
it's
mugshot.
literally happening. I've never been a Trump supporter, and all of a sudden I'm like, you know what? I'm going for the political prisoner. Like, that's it.
So-
Who else? Right?
So Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yes,
But
I do
first,
like Vivek also. However, is he going to be the nominee?
But
Probably
you
not.
look at January 6th, and they go after people you've never heard of. that don't make the press and you don't even know are in jail. And these people, try as they might, can't get the word out. There's too many of them. This is what they do, one at a time. Then they announce 2.5 years later that Owen Shroyer will be criminally charged. They're starting from the bottom and moving upwards. It's very much like that story we talk about eBay. You know, when eBay was started, it was yellow and they wanted to change the background to white, but everyone got mad, so they did it one step at a time over the course of a year. They don't want to come out immediately right after January 6th and say, Donald Trump, you're under arrest. It would create chaos. They got to go for the easier low-hanging fruit, which is lower income people who are confused. And then what do? They go to this, 37-year-old woman who was walking around the Capitol waving a flag when everyone went in the building. And they say, you're going to go to prison for 8 years for a felony charge for terrorism, or you're going to write a letter saying Trump made you do it. And then we're going to say you can go home right now. Time served. And they've all, how many people have taken this deal?
How is it that any different to our regular justice system?
Well, no, but this is my point. My point is, if they go head to head with Trump rallies his base.
Sure.
If they weaken his base by getting his supporters to write letters saying Trump did this and ordered me to do it, and then use that for propaganda, knowing these people, no one will ever hear their names.
Also,
they're
think
not
of
going to be
how
in the news. They won't raise money.
It's also laid that base. Now that you've heard that all these people have been charged, if you're a layperson, you go to work every day, you got the kids, you got stuff going on, you're not really paying attention. You have no idea what these people have been charged with. You hear, I don't know how many people have been arrested. Now, all of a sudden, it's like an actual thing. It's like, well, all those people arrested, of course they had to have done something terrible.
Yep.
So it adds to that level of, yeah, they did something.
They get enough.
Of course, you got to go for Trump because he's the orchestrator of all these people.
They get enough people to sign letters saying Trump ordered me to do it. Then they say, we have sworn witness testimony from 372 people saying Trump instructed them to do it.
Under duress, of course, but is that
Doesn't
mentioned
matter.
in the argument?
That it's part of the strategy. So ultimately, my point is, if they start going after personalities, Owen Shroyer, I think, proves this point. One, they have a pretext. He was on the Capitol grounds. Shouldn't have done it. Did you go to prison for 3 months? That's ridiculous. But they're using his speech. The speech is opening the door to targeting other personalities who are online. The next person will likely see charge is going to be someone who maybe has 100, 200,000 followers, subscribers, and they're going to say they advocated for, incited, and instructed people to commit a crime. I'm going to tell you right now, there were people on Twitter, on YouTube, and other social platforms before January 6th who posted videos advocating for people to engage in direct conflict in
Really?
DC.
Like violent conflict?
Yep. Mm-hmm. No, and there's no question about it. I think these people, some of whom have instantly flipped and become total DeSantis supporters, probably flipped because they know, they're next in line. After the J6s are on the ground, they're going to come out and say, you committed an act of sedition by making these videos advocating for insurrection against the United States government.
It's worth noting too, like for the entire time that Antifa was rioting and stuff, they had signs that said that they wanted revolution, that they wanted to tear down the government. They want, that no wall, no border, no USA at all, or whatever it was. They literally want to see the United States be, dissolved and stuff like that. And it was completely acceptable. They did this stuff while they were firebombing a government building. They were saying these kind of things while they were attacking the White House on whatever that was it, May 29th or something like that. Was the when they had to move Trump to the bungalow under the White House. But either way, the point is, these kind of threats and stuff like that, these things have been going on for a long time, and it's not new. The only reason that they're going after the people that were at January 6th is because they have the wrong politics. They are the wrong people. It's acceptable to be anti-government if you're anti-government for the left. There are people that have bombed Congress that Bill Clinton pardoned. Like, I forget the woman's name. She was a communist.
Yep.
But they literally set off a bomb in the Capitol.
The Democrat in Georgia will not be involved in the DA will not be involved in the criminal prosecution of the Antifa terrorists who were firebombing the police HQ, burning down homes, flipping vehicles, and shooting at cops. The Democrats are bowing out and saying we won't charge them.
They're literally saying that you don't matter. That what matters here is that institution. I mean, if government is more important than the people, then that's a statement.
I think they're outright saying that if you do these things, we're on your side.
Yeah, because I mean, I know that there's people that don't believe it, but there are actual communists in Congress. People that are the squad are all DSA members, or at least they caucus with the DSA. They caucus with communists. There is no significant light between AOC and any of the DSA members that are actual members of the DSA. There's no significant difference in their policy decisions or what they're looking for.
I don't know enough about the differentials, but socialists are different than communists. I would imagine that they don't want state-controlled.
The goal of socialism is communism. Vladimir Lenin. The goal of socialism.
You know what communism is like? You guys ever see From Dusk Till Dawn?
Like being
Yes.
Yeah, you know when it's Cheech, I think, he's outside and he's talking about all the beautiful women that are inside and all the different kinds of women's parts that are available. And then they're like, we got to go inside there. But then when they walk in, it's a bunch of vampires who are trying to kill them. That's communism. Outside, they're like, dude, if you come in here, we got pizza, we got video games, we got fast cars. Everybody gets to have anything you want. What do you want, Ian? You want open source code? We got open source
five open source codes.
We got 5 open source codes. Phil, we got a big stage for you to play. You're going to get everything you've ever wanted. You walk in the door, they lock it behind you, and then they go, and now we're going to kill you.
You know what? I don't believe Vladimir Lenin when he said that socialism's the road to communism. I feel like he twisted socialism for his own gain. Kind of like saying liberalism is the road to fascism.
He did not.
He did not.
He meant it. That's what he thought.
He used it.
He believed it. He killed a bunch of people.
I gotta chime in here with
It was
Phil.
his
I
road.
agree. It
was his road
As
to
the one
communism.
who's family history here and personal history, they never promise you communism. When you look at Cuba, you look at Venezuela, there was never a point where they're like, you know what? I am a communist. They always go for no, it's just a little bit of socialism. Everything's going to be great. We're all going to share. Everything's going to be fantastic. You want healthcare? I got your healthcare. You want this? You want a home? I've got you. They promise this land. It's exactly like Tim just said. It is that promise.
So I guess socialized services is different than socialism.
So
yes.
And we should debate what systems should be socialized.
So there's things that conservatives argue so that way, or in order to prevent a policy or whatever. But a lot of the social services that myself as personally, I'm kind of against this stuff, but they were made with the intent to diffuse the desire for the United States to become a more socialist country. So in the progressive era, like the first half of the 20th century, fascism and socialism were all the rage, right? The state was in charge. The government could do things, and because we were now industrial countries and stuff, we could, the state itself could do all kinds of massive projects, et cetera, and everybody was buying it. So the I don't know why I just slipped out of my head what we were talking about. What were you saying before?
Communism.
Yeah. But the point is, like,
you say they were using socialist tactics to diffuse the desire for socialism.
Yeah, because the world kind of was on fire for fascism and communism and socialism, because before the end of World War II, fascism didn't have the same kind of dirty connotations that it does. Neither did communism, to be fair. And these were new ideas. They were innovations that people were all excited about because we could remake man and remake the world because we had all this power because of the industrial revolution.
Yeah.
And the thing is, all those policies actually, there's an argument that those policies actually prevented the United States from falling into an actual socialist situation because the government stepped in and said, well, we'll use social programs, but we're going to keep, the things that keep us free. So I'm not sure if I think it was, the best option, but that is an argument that
you guys know there's a statue of Lenin in Seattle.
Whoa.
I did not know.
Still standing.
Makes sense.
They'll pull down Hans Christian Heg, who fought to end slavery. They'll tear down the founding fathers. But not him.
The problem with Lenin is he looked so cool, dude. Bald, just a shadow goatee, just angular.
It's kind of like the problem with socialism in general.
Yeah, it
Seems
looks
really
great.
cool.
Like Lenin is what a unique looking dude. They've modeled video game character. I mean, I think that the reason I think he looks cool is because I've seen video characters modeled after him.
16-foot tall statue of Lenin in Seattle.
What a guy.
16 foot.
Yeah.
They even had to exaggerate that.
Was he
It's not really 16
in Fremont. I lived in Fremont briefly.
I don't even know if we should
So
even
we would,
start down the
we would-
Lenin
we
road
would
right
see that
now.
one.
No, he killed. No, we shouldn't. We definitely shouldn't. Lenin is like Marxism. Leninism is the idea that has like led to all sorts of killing. So Lenin's perspective was socialism. Lenin was like, Marx is wrong. Socialism will not just happen, right? The idea was you had feudalism, then you had capitalism, and then once capitalism made enough product and stuff, then you would have socialism, and it would just happen, right? And then after once you had socialism, then the people would start realizing that socialism works, and then that the government itself is redundant because people are doing the things that need to be done, not the government. And then,
Yo.
was that?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's for sale.
What
And the statue.
I'll get it.
And in 1996, they wanted $150,000 for it, right? Which the equivalent today would be $280,000 for it. What say we buy it and then destroy it?
I so badly want to do this. I love this.
I want to leave it. I mean, it's a historical
No.
artifact. Just stick it somewhere.
That is a fair point. I'm not.
buy it and I'll pee on it. I'll pee.
Yeah,
Come
let's
on, let me
pee
pee
on
on
it.
it.
I'm into that.
I think you need to
Dude,
do more than just be.
You know what I would love
You
to
should
do?
paint it. Make it look like him in real life or
No,
something.
put like a clown face on it.
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
Buy
Oh my
it,
God, you should put it
different
in the front
wigs
of the
and stuff
property.
on
It would
them.
be
buy
great.
it and half bury it at Freedomistan.
Oh, it's just head sticking out.
But charge people money to defile it.
You can walk by and
Yes.
just smack it with a shoe for
Throw
a buck.
Dude.
chicken eggs at it.
We could put
That's
it in a
kinda a waste
shooting
of food.
range, and you could pay money.
Dude, you should hold on
To
to
come
it.
in.
Like any good statue.
Do you think they'd sell it to me if I told them like my intention is to bring it to a shooting range?
We should
and let
stop
people-
talking about this right now. After show only.
We just want to repaint it like the Statue of Liberty.
I got a question for you guys about
Polish
the
it.
president. Do you think, because I was thinking last night, man, a lot of the people that watch this show enjoy Donald Trump, so I don't want to be too much of a dig on him. But last night I was like, I feel like voting for Trump right now is like the lazy man's vote. It's just like, go in there and just do it. I don't even know. But like Vivek is the intellectual, it's the challenging route because he actually has a plan. You have to think about it and actually learn things to understand how to manipulate our government properly.
Vivek was talking about the stuff with InfoWars and stuff like that. So another good thing about Vivek is he's talking about these kind of things that other politicians don't seem to be talking. Sorry to cut you off,
Super
but I agree.
complicated stuff too. Like it takes hours to listen to it and then you might have a piece of it. But like that's the challenge.
I want to throw out there that Vivek also said that he would pardon Ross day one.
Ross Ulbricht.
Ross Ulbricht, Silk Road, and I think that is, for me, that's a number one reason to vote for him. I do like what he's doing. I do like that he's going to these shows and being real. Which politician in America is real? And I think Vivek is. He's coming to all these shows and doing the work. It's real easy to get a quick soundbite and just, something that your manager gave you and like, blah, blah, blah. I think everybody should have this. And then he's actually there explaining things. He's also talking about cutting, lots of government agencies. And I love that part.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Should we launch a Give Send Go for the purpose of purchasing the Lenin statue?
Please,
for
can
recovering
we?
the statue. We must recover it from the capitalist oppressors that have colonized his likeness.
They're selling it for money is really hilarious, by the way. It's like, we made it and we're going to sell it to you for a lot of money. I mean, 6 figures. This is no joke. You could buy a house for that money.
I don't know.
next
I
time I
mean,
go to
that's
the
a lot of money for a big pile of.
But I got to tell you,
Rock and stone.
hear me out. I'm fairly confident that if I bought this and then brought it to a big piece of rural land and said, for $5, you can defile it in any way you want.
Take my money.
Oh, I'd make so much money.
Take my money, all of it. Just let me, please.
We would
This
have
one's
like,
for me, and this one's for my dad, and
there would
this
be-
one's for
There would be Floridian pilgrimages of people being like,
Why don't we just put it in Florida? Why not? Let's put it in the capital of Latin America, Miami, and let's just, let the people that have had to flee their countries in recent times take care of it for you.
I like
take
that.
care of it?
If it was a
Take
bald,
care of it.
if it was the bald statue of Lenin, I'd be into it. But he's got a hat on, and I
It
don't
would-
have a lot of respect for bald guys that wear hats.
We can get rid of that hat.
There's what is the nonprofit? The Victims of Communism.
Victims of communism.
It would be cool to like buy it and donate it to them and say like, do with it what you will.
I love this.
Make it special.
I think you should definitely do it. Give, send, go, and see if people will donate to do it.
Get people to.
you know.
If I were to do a Give Send Go, it would be like it would have to be to give it to the Victims of Communism memorial or whatever. So I would reach out to a
How about you use
anti-communist.
it to stop current communism, or at least educate people on the current communism, because communism isn't over.
But when
We've got an island 90 miles from our shores that is full-on communist.
It's adapting to the monetary
Well,
systems.
what I'm
too.
saying
Like,
is-
Chinese communism isn't real. It's not communism.
Cuban communism is real communism.
What I'm saying is I would not crowdfund to buy this to personally own. If we do a crowdfund, it's so that an anti-communist organization can get ownership of it. Like I'm saying, like I don't like the idea we do a give, send, go. Everyone gives money, which effectively gives me. I don't want the statue. Like if I was going to buy the statue on my own, I'd buy it on my own, and I'd charge admission for people to defile it because that's hilarious. Turning him into a capitalist spectacle for capitalists to make money off of is just it's icing on the cake.
I love it.
So it's a possibility. The first question is, will they actually sell it to someone they know is going to defile it? But I think they legitimately would sell it to the victims of communism or some nonprofit. But it's also a question too: would like a nonprofit like the victims of communism want to be involved in something so crude? Would that be besmirching the memory of those who are killed by these monsters?
No,
Yeah.
this was created in Czechoslovakia during the Soviet Union's reign in 1988. And then after the dissolution of the USSR was brought to America in 1993. So I don't think this has anything to do with people that loved communism. This is people that fled the Soviet Union.
Who
Or at
made
least-
it?
It was made by a Bulgarian-born Slovak sculptor named Emil Venkov. I don't know what his communist ties were.
I'm just, it would be hilarious to see what Antifa would do if we're like, it's ours now.
They'd be very confused. It's made of bronze. Maybe we could polish it.
I think I have to buy it.
Dude, it's
I think
giant.
what
Vladimir
am I
Lenin, dude.
alive for if not to buy the statue of Lenin?
I love this.
So
you,
that
dude.
so that we can topple it, have Phil Labonte stand on top of it.
He on it.
He's got like a thing behind him you can sit on. Maybe you can set up a drum kit back there or something.
I'm going to pursue this because you just think I look at the great works. I look at the I play Civilization, right? And in Civilization, every so often you get great figures. So it's like you'll get a little dude and he'll be called like musician, and then you can place him somewhere and he makes culture. But every so often you'll get like like Beethoven appears and he's a guy you can go and then create a great work, and the great work creates cultural influence. And I think about where are we today? Where's all of the significant cultural stuff that matters to people of this generation? I saw a meme, and it's a bunch of cassette tapes, and it said all of these albums came out within like 4 months of each
yeah,
other. And it's like,
1991.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's-
Everything awesome.
right.
Use
it's
Your
Pearl
Illusion
Jam,
1 and 2.
Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Nevermind. It's like Stone Temple Pilots.
Bad Motorfinger, Soundgarden.
That was a
Soundgarden. Good year, dude.
It's crazy. And so I'm thinking today, what have we done this year? What has anyone done where it's like, we're going to remember that crazy thing?
Oliver Anthony, I'll say.
For sure.
That
I'm not saying nothing's been done.
yeah.
I'm just saying, like, think about the things that we should create to create that memory and that cultural waypoint, as it were. So I kind of feel like, Phil Labonte standing on the ruin of a shattered Lenin statue singing in mockery of communism
Make a shirt.
is one of those things to be done.
Light it from underneath. That's going to look wild. Oh, yeah, put some lights underneath the thing. It's like free with like a ladder on the back or steps on the back so you can climb up onto it real easy.
Timcast anti-commie
Ride his
shirt.
shoulders.
Like, I don't like the destruction of statues, Confederate or otherwise. And part of, like, the burning of the Library of Alexandria is a horror story to me. Like, if someone's like, you want to hear a horror story, you tell me about ghosts and demons, I'm like, oh, that's cool. But you tell me about the burning of the Library of Alexandria, and I'm like, and I'm like, I'm hiding, like, no, the knowledge. Yeah. So, destroying the statue for no reason, just like toppling it, is stupid. But doing something cultural and artistic with it is important.
You know, one of the things I like about that Civilization reference, you're talking about great people. When your society produces a great person, Beethoven, Steve Jobs, whoever. When you get multiple great people all produced at the same time in history, they can come together to create a golden age. And that's what's happened with the internet. We're in a golden age. We're in a time of immense crisis, but we're in a golden age while we're suffering the crisis. So it's that much easier. We've got to use it while we have it, because it's every age comes to an end.
Maybe we write a song and then we can use it in the music video. Like, I'm thinking, like, can we create an artistic work that represents, we deride and explain how bad communism is. And there's a message that I think people often say that doesn't get enough attention. It doesn't permeate enough. And it's that the communists were infinitely worse, or I shouldn't say infinitely, but were substantially worse in many ways than the Nazis. Mm-hmm. The Nazis committed probably one of the most evil atrocities, but the communists had this long, drawn out 70 years or longer, 100 years, even still to this day, with what China has done to the Uyghur Muslims. It's just this endless history of hundreds of millions of dead. The Holodomor happened before the Holocaust, right? And these things are horrifying and evil. So at least saying like, guys, we get it. We hate Nazis, but can we also add communism into
I
the
don't
list of
understand how
evil
we
people?
don't have communism. I mean, I don't know, depending on whatever number you want to use for how many people perished under Nazism, but communism, that number is so much more. Maybe 200 million people. I mean, it's just so big.
Oh my God. Dylan Butter says, buy the statue, put a chicken bridge over it.
Yeah.
And play Lennon getting crapped on live.
Oh,
Chicken
yeah.
Stage. That's a really good
Love
idea.
it.
Just him like half out of the ground and
Dude, the
chickens
Lenin
poop.
statue
Those
in
poor
Chicken
chickens.
City would be the best thing
Yes.
ever.
Those poor chickens just having to deal with this thing.
No, the chickens would. We would
They'd
put the perch
perch
right
on
above
it. Yeah.
where they sleep, and they just
it.
crap in their sleep, and it plops right onto Lennon.
A Lenin statue
Forever.
in Chicken City. Love it.
Oh, perfect.
I'll take a look at it. To be completely honest, I mean, it's not like I just have $300,000 to buy a statue of Lenin with.
Because you got to ship it too. It's
right,
massive.
and shipping that's going to be hefty.
How much is this? How much
That's
is
going to
it
be a
weigh?
serious cost to ship.
You get a bunch of people to do a road trip. You go pick it up and put
That's
it on a
why.
flatbed.
That's why I'm like, I really do think we could muster up a crowdfund between. It's not just about like what this show can do, but if I reached out to a bunch of other personalities and said, guys, let's promote this and get a nonprofit to buy the statue and then do something critical of communism with it, we'd raise that money overnight.
I agree. And I love that idea. I think that there is communism still today, and a lot of people just don't know what it is, don't know how miserable it is, don't understand the crisis. Again, going back to Miami, over 1 million people who have fled communist regimes live in Miami today. And so, if you got to live it or talk to people who've lived it or do something like this, buy a statue and make sure people know what's going on.
Is the reason it fails and just always has failed is because it sounds great, everyone's going to get enough, and then it gets to the point where you have so many people, we don't have enough resources now, everyone can't have enough.
It fails because human beings are not geared to be socialist.
Well, in small groups we are, like in a family unit.
That's fine.
Your desire to give to your children, to give to your wife, to give to the people that you love. Now, what desire do you have? If I tell you, hey, I really need some money and I want it because I want it. What drives you to go make that money for me?
If you were my neighbor and you were like, I want some money because I'm going to plant some corn, I could see like...
But Ian, you're talking about so you're talking about a concept that has to be at least national, right? So you're talking about millions of people, and things work differently at different resolutions, right?
Yeah.
So the way that like a family works. There's only 4 or 5, 6, whatever, 10 in your immediate family. Communism's fine for that, because the people that you're supporting need you to take care of them. Children can't go out and support themselves and take care of themselves. That works. But once you get to like your neighborhood, you can't have a communist neighborhood. You might have some kind of, you can have social programs or social get-togethers and your neighbors can help each other, but it can't be just like, hey, Joe makes $100,000 and Bill makes 30, so we're going to take, Joe's money and give some of it to Bill and stuff. And that's the way that it ends up working out. That ends up creating animosity. It ends up making mistrust. It ends up making people not feel like working. There's this idea called the tragedy of the commons, right? So if no one owns something, no one takes care of it because they don't feel like they're responsible for it. That's one of the things that property does, right? If you own something, then you feel like it is a part of you on some level, and it gives you the desire to take care of it, to make it better, to build on it. If you don't have to take care of it, what happens? Everybody pisses on the seat because you don't have to clean the toilet. Public toilets are always a mess because no one takes care of them.
Like I was thinking, then does it break down in a little society because communism doesn't work after 60 people or something because there's someone in charge?
Doesn't work after one.
Right, and there's always somebody in charge because, like, when you remove the incentive to do anything because everyone's getting the same thing, then it becomes about forcing people to do something, and then people are appointed to force other people to do stuff, and then before long it just...
Like
just think about it. If you what incentivizes you to do things, right? And there has to be something. Otherwise, why leave your house? Why you have to leave your house and make money because otherwise the electricity is going to be turned off. You're not going to be able to afford things. You're not going to be able to afford food. So you go out, you do your job, and you come home with your money and you pay for things. If everything was guaranteed to you, light, electricity, everything, you had it. What's going to incentivize you to leave? and go be productive and go make things and go be part of this society. You know, it's kind of like what happened in COVID. And I think to this day, a lot of people have been talking about, like, there's something shifted in our culture a little bit where people just maybe don't necessarily want to do a job, you know, because you were incentivized to stay home, and it's awesome. I mean, great. You get to stay home and live your life, and somebody else is going to provide for you. And it just doesn't work. Things don't just magically appear. That food at the supermarket doesn't magically just go up. It's not like somebody in the back of your supermarket, of your local supermarket, is just like, you know, these things magically come out of something. You have to grow that food. You have to produce that food. Who's going to do that? Do you really think people want to go work the fields because they love it?
Yeah, it sounds like, well, it would be profit motive, basically, is what gets people to do
Yes.
it for the most.
You need a profit. And also, profit is the perfect way to regulate the market. You know exactly what somebody's willing to pay for something. You're willing to pay $1,000 for a cell phone because you find value in that cell phone, right? But if, you know, I was like, hey, this Apple phone, whatever, is $20,000, maybe you'd be like, yeah, I don't really need that. There's a price point that is the right point that you're willing to pay for. So that, you need that.
And do you think that you need to let people suffer? I think, I'll just tell you this. I think that you need to let people suffer, and the ones that pick themselves up and strive for something better are the success ones that send their genetics on to the next generation, and the ones that can't get out of the suffering die off and their genetics no longer are with us.
You ever look at the Instagram page, like, what is it? Nature is Metal.
Yes, dude.
So one of the things that page constantly says, right, and shows you all kinds of stuff, animals getting eaten all the time, and he's like, look, nature's not fair. And it's
brutal.
Not. It's brutal. And
the cheaters and the most brutal are rewarded.
Yeah. And so what you need to do is you need to have your society be in harmony with the fact that the world is unfair. And I'm not saying accept that it's unfair and just be like, oh, well, this is the way it is, and just ignore it. But when I say be in harmony, means you have to understand that the world is unfair. So you have to design a system that allows for those things to happen without destroying the system, right? And that's one of the things that individuals that are free can do. If you have decentralized, and you understand decentralized more than most people, but if you have decentralized power, one person cheating or taking advantage of someone else or whatever doesn't ruin the system. But if you have centralized power, then the incentive for the people in charge is to do whatever the hell they want, because who's going to stop them? Look at the way that the government's acting now, right? Our government isn't a communist government, like it's not a totalitarian communist government, but the government currently is persecuting people that have bad opinions, because who's going to stop them?
You know, I was just thinking we should probably do a Kickstarter for the Lenin statue shooting range thing, which would undoubtedly be rejected by Kickstarter. But it would just really be really funny to have like that video where we're like, you know, our plan is to start a business that brings people together. Our plan, buy a statue of Lenin and then let people come to a shooting range where they can fire guns at it.
What's the statue made of?
Bronze.
Okay,
but, you know, we've got a Barrett M82.
Yeah.
And, you know, we would charge like $100 for it.
Got to be at least like 100 yards away.
No, I think if we were going to allow anyone to fire the M82 at it, it'd have to be like $1,000 for one round.
Fair.
Because it destroys the statue, like severely. And you know, like if people are firing 22s at it or whatever, you can go forever and enjoy it.
I wouldn't let them fire 22, well, unless you're far away, because they're going to fly out, ricochet out, perhaps.
Just put it with the chickens, because them shitting on Lenin's head is way better, because it will last for eternity. People can take pictures
burying
with it.
him waist up and then letting the chickens come in and you can come and take pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they're less likely to ban our Kickstarter, but it would still be hilarious to make the Kickstarter video where it's like, your contribution today, what do you get? You know, for a $10 contribution, you get one ticket to come to Lenin Land where you can watch chickens take a dump on his head.
Oh, please don't call it Lenin Land. Please, we do not need to, like, no. Unless it's like Lenin sucks land, then maybe.
We can call it Utopia.
I was just thinking that. Yeah.
Just call it Utopia. Welcome to Utopia.
Yeah, that's actually funny.
Chicken
and then,
shitty.
You know?
Yeah. Living in the shitty.
Yeah.
Chicken shitty.
And like, do you have a dog? We can allow your dog to come in and urinate on the statue.
There you go.
For a $5 fee.
I still like Phil doing it more.
No, but you can too.
Yeah, that'd be a good video of just him yelling, like full on.
It feels so right.
From behind.
The statue of Lenin. So I guess the reason why it's still up is because it's on private property and it's privately owned.
Cool.
So it's been very controversial with a lot of people saying it's like putting a Klansman up and putting.
Bet they're so ready to get rid of it.
We're gonna go to Super Chats. So we're gonna go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member to watch the members only portion of this show, and we will have you guys call into the show. And you can talk to us and our guests. It'll be good fun. But for the time being, let's read your Super Chats. I'm not your buddy, guy, says, I believe your theory on 2020 and lockdowns is challenged by them wanting to re-implement those measures. It wasn't anger, but rather opportunity for fewer integrity measures. Throw in media hysteria mixed with cult members, and you got willing lone wolves committing fraud. Interesting. All right. Corey Anderson says, where is Will Chamberlain? You need to bring in lawyers to talk about all this BS. Where is Will? Will's a good friend, but he works for Ron DeSantis. So
Still, he does?
yeah.
Does he want to work for Ron? Will.
Yes. But as you all know, DeSantis' campaign has barred any of their people from coming on this show.
So lame.
Take that for what you will. All right, we'll grab some more. Andre Tukulescu. Fun fact. Canada has a mandatory retirement age of 75 for senators, and it's useless. After the Bill C-18 debacle, which has removed news from Meta and Google, Canada has now effectively banned WD-40 beginning 2024. Help? What, really? Wow. What do we got? JM says, yo, Timmy, what up? Thanks for joining. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, ignorance rules until illegals are sleeping on your sidewalks. They voted for it. And this is the noble life of democracy, Tim. The belief in humanity, even though humanity is a screaming, selfish mob. Fair point. Yeah, we didn't get into the story. Eric Adams saying that New York is doomed. It made me feel really good. He's like, we got 10,000 immigrants coming every month. The city can't handle it. It's over. And it's just funny because it's like, well, you said if they voted for you, you'd make it a sanctuary city and maintain that policy, and you did. And now it's all burning down around you. So, you did it to yourself.
Oop.
You reap what you sow, man. Bullseye Ben says, to New York City, you made your bed, now sleep in it. That's right. Mm-hmm. Blah, blah, blah says, watch the vid about Baldur's Gate. With all the wokeness stuff being at the forefront, I think being able to get screwed by a bear was overlooked, LOL. Yeah, was it actually a bear, though? Because druids can turn into animals and stuff. What? So it's like, I'm playing Baldur's Gate. The mechanics are awesome. It's a crazy game because you can literally do anything. Like the main character, you can die, and then just play the game without it and carry on the storyline as somebody else. It's really interesting, and I think it's a lot of fun. And it's an interesting question about these identities in character creation, because if they truly made a game with an open character creation, you could literally create any character within the confines of the story's universe. In which case, if it's possible to exist, you can make it. So, like, you could literally create a character who's schizophrenic. That's the future of character creation in video games.
I gotta buy this game.
Baldur's Gate?
Yeah.
Why?
So I can at least know what the guys are talking about. Isn't this the one you and Ian are playing?
Ian was playing it first, but I guess he stopped. I've been playing it. I've got about 6 hours in. My biggest problem with it right now, so it's basically Dungeons and Dragons. Mm-hmm. And so it's a really awesome mechanic that it's like if you are in combat and you fire an arrow at someone, it's like your attack versus their defense or whatever. Mm-hmm. So there's actually a D20, a dice roll and stuff like that. The problem I'm having with it is that the path I'm taking in the game naturally is charisma and persuasion, meaning I'm succeeding by talking my way through everything, which creates a problem because my characters are savvy but can't fight.
Right.
So it's like I'm in a level 7 area with level 3 dudes, and I'm successfully navigating all of the conflict through
gonna try and talk your way out of the dragon.
But it
get
right
one hit.
And then it comes to a point where there's somewhere where you can't avoid the conflict, and it's like you instantly lose.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but come on, man. If I'm leveling up through persuasion and charisma and not focusing on combat, tell me that before, because I had to go back and reload a save like 30 minutes prior, because I'm like, oh, okay.
That's just bad game design.
Yeah, like I walk out of I don't want to give too much of the game away, but I walk out of a room and there's like 12 NPCs instant combat, and I'm like, well, I'm dead.
You maybe need to do side quests to build up, get up to level 4 or something.
That's fine, and I understand that, like with most RPGs, but it's just an issue of, in most RPGs, as you're progressing through the story, your combat is leveling up, and then you might say, the next level is a little high, so I better, level up my guys. But I am leveling up my guys. I'm just leveling them up in other ways. And so it's like, I'm running into that wall. Yeah. But it's fine. I get it.
Yeah, I just started it too. I'm enjoying it so far. It's like Divinity 2, but less cartoony. If you guys ever played Divinity series, it's kind of like a King's Quest, like a talking crab with like
King's
a crown.
Quest.
Yeah,
I
that's
love King's Quest.
Larian Studios, who's make Baldur's Gate 3. Their earlier 2 games are the Divinity and Divinity 2 games, and they're like 98 out of 100 top level games, just like Baldur's Gate, top down isometric. But they're more crazy. Like you can teleport. There's tons of stuff. Baldur's Gate's more like realistic.
I am enjoying it. It's a lot of fun. All right, let's grab some more super chats. Trollkin says, you should have Thomas E. Woods on the show. He's a historian and podcaster whose work inspired the Mises Caucus.
He's a friend, too.
Super knowledgeable, but also a fun and conversational guy.
Tom Woods is great.
Look, we want to do a culture war episode debating communism. I'd love to get somebody who lived it. I mean, to be fair, Luke did too, but very briefly. Luke Rukowski.
I haven't heard back from Zoltan yet.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
I texted him. But...
Oof.
Like I said, you're going to be in Miami. I can definitely introduce you to a whole bunch.
I mean, that would be super amazing if we did like maybe we get something we do like one of those panels where you get 10 people to sit down in chairs and you ask them questions about what's going on. That'd be super awesome. Maybe Elon could do it while we're down there. All right, let's grab some more super chats. Treadbull says, Phil, what would you have said to Hinkle if you were here when he was?
Well, I mean, I'm not here to pick fights with people. Like this is not my podcast, so I'm going to be polite and stuff like that. But I would have drilled him about property rights and what his plan is to do with the people that dissent, because it's always the same plan: kill him.
I don't think he's actually a communist though, but we'll see if we have that bigger conversation. There are people who are young and naive, who are like, communism is just when people take care of each other and we share our stuff. It's like, no. You poor child. That's not what communism is.
Somebody's in charge.
That's the lie they tell you so that they can kill your family and steal your stuff.
Yep.
But is he naive or is he just evil and doesn't understand? Because
naive.
I think that, ultimately, if you are in favor of this and, it always ends in people starving and people being killed and stuff. You have to be a little evil to like this, to want that. I mean, it's just
the path to hell is paved with good
like
intentions.
something. Yeah, they paint it like it's
how old is he? 22?
Yeah, but I mean, come on. He's 22 and he's young and whatever, but he's not dumb, right? Objectively
ignorant and naive.
Sure.
There's a difference between the people who are willfully lying and the people who have been tricked and are saying dumb things. We can call it the banality of evil in that they're going along with it. But the thing about Hinkle is, I don't even think he is of the banality of evil communism. There are people who are like, communism is actually good. Like, I've read Marx. And it's like, okay, you're the banality. Then you've got people who know what it really is and lie to you. And that's the malice and the abject. But what he's saying isn't even communism. He was not describing communism, at least in our conversation.
Yeah, I think the best thing to do with Hinkle, I mean, I guess he's got stuff on the internet, but it's probably good to go ahead and just like list off a bunch of things that typically communism
he's talking about like regulation.
Yeah, we agreed on that. Like, we had a similar vision of like socializing certain aspects of our governance, but how we get there is like, do you want to use communism to get there? Do you want to use like voluntarism to get there? Which I don't know how you guys feel about that. The libertarians would always be like, voluntarism's the way. People will do it because they want.
It is the way.
But like you were saying earlier, if you don't have incentive, is it just capital? Because then when they
do you do nice things for people because you have an incentive to do it? I mean, I think that it's a cultural thing. It's. I mean, honestly, being a voluntarist, you do have a level of like, you do it for your own well-being. You don't do things for other people You do it for yourself. You feel good when you volunteer. I mean, I love to volunteer, and I'll be the first to say it. I love to volunteer because it makes me feel good. I love to do things for other people. It makes me feel good. You have to be a little bit of a selfish person even to give to other people. I mean, there's an incentive to do it. And sorry.
Well, we talked about Tom Woods. I heard him talking about this one time. There's this odd thing that happens when you purchase something, right? You go to the store and you give them money and they give you the thing or whatever, and you both say thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's very rare where both people are thanking each other, because both people feel like they have had a good experience in the exchange, right? You wanted the thing more than you wanted the money, and the people that had the thing want the money more than the thing, right? And that filling the need of another person is part of what makes markets work. The fact that you have the ability to fill a need and they can pay you, which is that positive exchange. That's why markets work. And that's one of the things that's very pro-social about markets that just doesn't exist in command economies, like a socialist system. There's no thank you when you just have it, you go in and get your ticket, or if you're sitting in a bread line for hours and stuff to get, just the basics and stuff. So that's one of the things about voluntarism, is both people are engaging because they want to, in a voluntary way, and both people come out feeling like they got at least a decent deal, or both people come out feeling like they got screwed, and that's how you know that you got a good deal too. If the guy you did business with feels like you took him, and you kind of feel like the guy took you, well, then you probably got a fair deal,
All right, the text vet says, the Trump flag shown is obviously speaking about the U.S., not individuals. That's why it shows 1776. They're saying Trump to win or America is dead. It seems fairly obvious, as that's what everyone's been saying. I agree with that.
I'd say Trump to be freed, Trump to not be facing this. Yes. Trump to win is a whole other scenario. I mean, is he the best candidate? I mean, put it to a vote, right? But to say that he has to win, I think that's taking it to the next level. I think it should be Trump to be free of these charges. Otherwise, America is in a bad place. Sure, I can agree to that. I don't think that he has to. Then that's starting a whole other thing. So if Trump doesn't win, does that give you an excuse to now go out and riot? I mean, come on. Like, isn't that how we got here in the first place? Like, it's just one step at a time, people. Let's let him be free. Let's let the system work itself.
Pablo Papano says, Ian, no president can unite the U.S., only God and graphene.
Hey, God's a big part of it. And graphene's awesome because that'll give us a unified, like an industrial focus as a nation.
I actually agree with that. I think at this point, I don't think there's any politician that could actually unite the United States.
No.
I do think there is something to be said about God uniting a people. I don't see how you create a culture of faith in the United States today. But if you were to look back at the past in the United States, people hated each other and they fought politically, but they all at least shared a moral framework, and that is their faith. And because of that, there was cohesion.
Yeah,
Now
I see it with Judaism, Islam, and Christianity all focusing on a unifaith, this one God.
A shared moral framework creates stability. And it doesn't matter who your political leader is if everyone has the same morals. They fear if I do something wrong, I will be punished by someone else. And so it's interesting that faith in a God or religion that has punishment for bad deeds means you're not going to be the liar, the cheater, the stealer, because there is someone who is coming to punish you.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be a president, but I think a human that can translate the ideas of God and graphene or something, whatever it is that unifies the people, if someone can translate that to the people. Like Gandhi, he wasn't the president of India. He was just a guy. He was just a lawyer. But he rose to the occasion and inspired people to free themselves.
Neglectful Sausage says, Tim Pool smoking that copium. Quote, they're ramping up arrests and putting people on the right in for 20 years. They're totally losing. JFC. Yep. I think you'd have to be fairly naive not to understand the point of what's going on. There are things called death throes. Do you guys know what death throes are?
Yeah.
When someone begins to die, they begin violently thrashing about. Not everybody. When someone is drowning, what do? They violently thrash about. If someone is drowning and you go to rescue them, what do? They grab you and drag you down. That's why they say you have to go up behind them. There's like a technique for rescuing people who are drowning.
You have to wait for them to pass out, actually.
They really? Yeah. Otherwise,
that's what I was told in lifeguarding class.
You go up behind them and pull them from behind. But that's one technique. I don't know. I'm not a lifeguard. But here's the thing. If they were in control, they would not need to indict Donald Trump at all. If they were in control, they would not need to put Enrique Tarrio in prison. They'd simply shut everything down. They'd cut his bank account. They'd destroy his life. They tried all that. It didn't work. The Proud Boys famously got debanked. Enrique Tarrio continued to do everything he did. It's more like the economic hitman stories. You know, first they say join us, then they say, well, we're going to pay you off. Then they start hurting you, and then they come in and remove you. But what's happening now with these cultural victories across the board, I mean, come on, man, look at Rumble. The expansion that they've had. Look at Public Square. If everything keeps moving in this direction, the old school Uniparty machine ceases to exist in a couple generations. Their only options now, after everything else has failed, censorship failed, debanking failed. Their only thing left is violence.
Do you think
and even that's not going to work.
That a decentralized form of governance in the United States could compete with the Chinese Communist centralized party?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, think about it. If this country was that beacon of freedom, that's why everyone wants to be here anyways, even though we're not. Because we are, you know, we do have that. Like, one of the things I've thought about this is why don't we have an Elon Musk in Latin America? Why is it that only the United States has these people coming here with all these great ideas and starting these great companies? It's that freedom that brings people here. You want the best from around the world to come here. You want the best minds here in the United States. You will beat everybody else. We need that innovation. We want that innovation. We should be welcoming. I mean, feel however you want to feel about immigration. I'm not going to debate it. But if you had a policy where hey, all of those people who in Venezuela, Cuba, whatever, that are those great thinkers, that are those great doers, why wouldn't you want them here? They're trying to flee. Why wouldn't you want them here? Why do you want them to go to Russia or to China or anywhere else? You want them here in the United States giving those great ideas. And, you know, yes, I think that a decentralized country could. I mean, that is how the United States became the United States.
Yeah, I get it. So less federal authority allows for more privatization of and wealth gain growth, which makes you more resistant to a foreign nation. It's actually the wealth of the nation.
In my generation, I went from using a telephone on the wall because we had a monopoly with Ma Bell. And as soon as that government control of it went away, look at us now. We have these little devices in our hands. This is in my generation. It's just so absurd how much government control just keeps us down. And we keep asking for more of it. How much innovation and technology would we be at if we didn't have the government stifling us? To open a business, you have to go through all these rigmaroles just to get it started. Why? You know, it's ridiculous.
Well,
the government does not help you in any way, shape, or form.
Some proprietary monopolies can be really destructive. And like if Google were to try and take over the world right now, Alphabet, like we would need our government to help protect us, at least on American soil.
They can't take over the world if there is no government making them the only people doing things. Competitors happen all the time. I know. I mean, I still use Google, but DuckDuckGo, you have solutions. You cannot have a monopoly where there is a free market.
Well, you could have big players in the free market collude and kind of monopoly, like BlackRock, Vanguard, State
BlackRock
Street.
is absolutely using the United States government to get to where they want to be.
Do you think they'd be in a worse place without the U.S. government?
Of course.
Or a stronger place?
I mean, depends on what your worse or better is. I think they're in a position that is not favorable to the people of the United States, and they got there using government.
The thing about large corporations is, Ian, for instance, you mentioned MSNBC with a lag.
Yeah.
They invest ridiculous sums of money into this foundation. They build a machine that's hard to move. As time progresses, their methodologies and technologies become more and more obsolete or archaic, and startups become disruptive and start moving in. What we typically see is the government then create roadblocks to support the jobs by propping up failing industries. So, in not every circumstance, but there are many circumstances where we'd be better off if these systems were allowed to collapse and crumble into themselves. So you have companies that should have failed. The auto industry crumbled from their own errors. You have the banking industry. But then you look at government programs. These things should be better handled by nonprofits. I have no problem with social programs. The problem I have is they're not allowed to fail. Once social programs run out, don't work anymore, whenever any program is created, it should have a sunset clause. This is for 5 years and then it's done. Instead, you get these welfare programs, they keep putting Band-Aids over and tape over, and it keeps making a bigger and bigger system that can't fail, and it gets broken and worse, and it just infects, and there's problems there. But let's read some more Super Chats. Got to read this one from Christy Harris. She says, Ian, I adore you. Please consider Trump was more divisive due to things said about him and not by him. He could not be liked, so others, deep state, fueled hate. However, he was a clapback master, i.e. Rosie.
Yeah, the flames were fanned. I won't deny that. The media did play a huge part in the back and forth, but so did Don. Like, telling Hillary Clinton he was would have her arrested and thrown in jail while he was campaigning.
Yeah, it's way worse that they're actually arresting people and throwing people
I know,
in jail.
but like he opened up the gate for. That's my opinion. By saying that on stage, like for a power play, it's like, what are you messing with, bro?
All right. Mia Culpa 632 says, I invite you and all of the Timcast crew to come to Mountaineer in Martinsburg on Sunday at 2 p.m. for a friendly Dart Luck of the Draw, building relationships with the local community. Perhaps I will be there. I don't know for sure what we're doing, what the plans are this weekend, but that's the Mountaineer in Martinsburg. We got a bunch of stuff happening in Martinsburg, ladies and gentlemen. I probably shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. We were talking about creating Cousin T's, a diner, and Papa Jack's Pizza Shack. I think we should do it in Martinsburg.
Who's Pizza Shack?
Papa Jack. Jack Posobiec.
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
Papa
all right.
Jack's Pizza Shack.
I'm into it.
With a skate park in the back.
I'm into it.
Oh,
That's right. Bring the whole family.
skate and then eat.
You know what I'm thinking would be super cool? An anti-Times Square. We create our businesses. We've got our coffee shop. We've got Cousin T's Diner. We've got Papa Jack's Pizza Shack. We get a My Pillow brick and mortar store.
Just take over a whole like intersection.
Would you call it?
Just a street in a downtown area with all of these businesses that are the parallel economy. We have a bar that the bar serves ultra right, a conservative dad's ultra right beer, and
I want to call
people will travel to come hang out and be a part of this cultural hub.
They would totally trouble.
I was thinking
We
like
gotta do this.
anti-times. It was anti-times. This didn't work.
Times Square.
Times Circle.
Doesn't look good when in writing.
But we don't call it anti-Times Square, but that's the general idea of what it is. How cool would that be? And then the thing about Martinsburg is that it's a couple hours from a bunch of different metros. Pittsburgh, Philadelphia is a few hours away. You got D.C., Baltimore. Richmond is a few hours away.
Freedom Square.
Yeah.
Yeah. Freedom something. I mean, there's a bunch of Freedom Squares all over the place.
Yeah,
but how
this
cool
is
would it be? You get a hotel, you come down, and then you can get breakfast at Cousin T's.
Disney World for people who like freedom.
But like Times Square, because there's no theme parks or anything. But we could put an arcade. It'd be super cool.
I mean, you said a skate park.
Yeah. Papa Jack's Pizza Shack with a skate park in the back.
Yeah. Don't eat before you skate. Eat after you skate.
It's not really, the skate park isn't really a part of Papa Jack's Pizza Shack. It's just on the other side of the street. You know what I mean? And it's just fun to say. This is really cool. And then we'll buy the statue of Lenin and we'll topple it.
We'll move it to.
I love this.
We'll move it to New Times Square.
I love this.
We put it in the bathroom of New Times Square.
Yeah, let's call it New Times Square.
Yeah.
Put it in the bathroom. Everyone just
Because it's like New Times.
What about Times
but it's
New
also
Square?
Times.
Like
I'm-
Times New Room.
I'm willing to bet that there are enough people in this space that would hands down. Martinsburg is not super expensive. It's the fastest growing city in West Virginia. They would easily be like, okay, we'll set up a shop there. Why not?
Because I was gonna say millions of people.
How
will move there.
about Jeremy Hambley sets up a card shop and a comic shop, gaming and all that stuff. So now we've got the makings of 5 different businesses. We got to get a My Pillow brick and mortar store. Super easy to do because the inventory doesn't expire.
Isn't Eric July from the DC area too?
Is he out here?
I'm
He
not
can do
sure
a comic
where he
shop
is.
then.
That would be sick though.
Oh
if
yeah,
Eric-
a comic shop with Eric July would be awesome.
Not to throw more stuff on his plate. The guy's going nuts as it is because of all the business he's got. But yeah,
But we can figure this out. So we're talking with Chef Andrew Gruel because that was actually Terrence Williams' idea. And I'm like, that's a good idea. I hit him up right away. And he was like, let's roll. And I'm like, this is going to be amazing. We're going to have our own parallel economy and our own cultural hub where we do events. We have comedians. We're going to have at our venue a small stage for comedy and stuff. We have like Ryan Log do stand up.
Let's block off the street and have like block parties,
We could
every Sunday or something.
Well, we can't just do that. That's going to be like, we got to talk to the
Yeah, with the
locals
city and everything. We could shut it down and do street festivals on Sundays.
But I'm thinking it's one thing that we can do is with our coffee shop and the small stage we have, we could easily get big bands. We could afford to pay them to come out and make this a big attraction.
You could play outside on a stage.
I don't know of any venues in the West. I don't know where in West Virginia there are venues. I'm sure that there's at least one.
I'm not talking 100. I'm not talking 200 people. I'm talking like a 75 person coffee shop acoustic set.
Yeah.
secret show style.
Sure,
But we can, whereas like a small coffee shop normally wouldn't be able to pay major label bands, we could do that for the purpose of bringing people to our space, and then they go get dinner at Papa Jack's Pizza Shack. They get a hotel room. Next morning, they wake up and they go to Cousin T's Diner. Oh, dude, this would be the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
We got to make it happen.
We need to build a hotel there too.
There are
You
hotels
guys know
there.
anybody at the Hilton?
But
hotels are
I think this would be just good for everybody. I wonder what the people there. So what I do know is that locals, because we're working there already,
Yep.
and we've had a bunch of people ask us like, "Can you please invest and help build this stuff up?" And I think it'd be really cool if we brought all these parallel economy businesses and brought them in. We could probably just go down the list of Public Square and be like, "If you're a company on Public Square, how would you like to? Let's do this." This would be super cool. Well, we're going to be doing it at the very least. We're going to be, I've been talking to Jack Posobiec about a family pizza chain for a long time because, you know, his big thing is Pizza Hut nationalism, family pizza rest. But it's like, he brings a good point. Like, there's this viral video of 1989, a Pizza Hut, and it was a bunch of people coming and having a birthday party. And it's like, when do we do this anymore?
Oh, it was so fun. That was the days,
I know.
man.
Pizza Hut now is a strip mall, small store that does delivery only. Now we need places where people come together. I look at GameStop, and I went to GameStop the other day, and I'm like, dude, this is the wrong business model. GameStop needs to dedicate a third of its store to competitions, community events, and tabletop games. GameStop should be a place where you could. It should be the big chain for tabletop games and video game competitions. You should be able to, like, why do you need the product? Why do you need the best controller? Why do you need the best headset? Oh, bro, because the insert video game competition is going to be held at your local GameStop Friday night, and you can win $50 in in-store credit. You can go to nationals, or you can be, get into these leagues or whatever. If you're playing video games, esports competitively, what's your local hub? GameStop could do that. I've been saying that for years, but that's just me.
What do you think for Jack's Pizza Shack?
Papa Jack's.
What do you think about Daddy Jack's Pizza Shack?
I think Papa Jack's Pizza Shack works better. It's a bit more alliterative.
And Daddy's kind of sexual, so I get it. But Papa's already Papa John was used for Papa John.
I think Daddy is only sexual in certain contexts because I've heard the word daddy a whole lot.
Okay.
Where it was totally
all right, guys. Uncle Jack's Pizza Shack.
Uncle Jack's Pizza Shack? Well, I don't want to
no.
derail. Papa Jack is kind of
Uncle
like
is,
Papa Jack's.
Uncle's not good.
Papa Jack's.
Neighbor. Neighbor. All right, everybody, if you haven't already, smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Share the show if you really do like it. And head over to timcast.com. Click join us, become a member. The members only uncensored show is coming up in a few minutes. You don't want to miss it. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL everywhere. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Martha, do you want to shout anything out?
Like I said, I'm starting a new business, and it's a Delta 8. It's a completely different way of consuming cannabinoids. And so we're starting with Delta 8, and we will have more soon. If you want to check us out, ourgood.com.
Right on.
I am Phil Labonte. You can follow me on Twitter at Phil That Remains, or if you want to call it X, that's fine too. You can follow me on Instagram. I am at Phil That Remains Official. The band is All That Remains. You can follow us on Spotify and Apple Music and YouTube and Amazon and, the internet. Pothead over here.
Speaking of pothead, I maybe I didn't tweet you out earlier. Your Twitter, people.
My Twitter is at Bueno for Miami, and that's my handle for pretty much all social media.
I'm looking forward. I want to talk. It's Our Good, OURGOOD.
That is correct.
.com.
Ourgood.com.
I want to ask you about it on the after show a little bit. I want to hear
Absolutely.
all about this Delta 9 stuff.
Do you want to try it?
Let's
every day.
Let's talk to Carter. You want to shout something out?
Yeah, no, I'm pumped to be on today because we just wrapped up a music video. As y'all know, Ian's in it. Well, maybe you don't know, but it's coming out very soon, so follow Timcast Songs. You can follow me at Carter Banks on Twitter, and yeah.
All right, everybody. We will see you all over at timcast.com. Thanks for hanging out.